December and everything, when I was going on about the standard and when are you finally going to get it fixed, being like, they're 10-1. Oh, my God. Why are you being negative? You didn't understand it. You didn't understand it. And look, I kept thinking they would fix it. I kept doubling down thinking, this team's too good. This veteran leadership's too good. They're going to fix it. Welcome to our YouTube audience, by the way. We're glad to have you.
Oh, we're on?
Yeah, Haley got it on.
All right, sorry about my face.
So at least we got that.
My bad about that.
I expected this. So I said it yesterday. I was wrong because I kept doubling down believing this team was going to get it fixed, and they are not getting it fixed. I don't believe the season is over, but I do believe aspirations of, let's just say, heading out to Las Vegas are done.
I almost texted you. Held off because we were all in a bad mood. But I almost texted you and said you can probably cancel the hotels.
Yeah, I said let's just. I believe Vegas dreams are over this morning.
Probably. It's unfortunate.
I don't.
Yeah.
Okay, this team's going to win. Like if you told me this team's going to win at Tampa Bay, okay, I could absolutely
I've seen
buy
that.
it. I could buy it. You guys were there for it.
Yeah, I saw that. But that's another game where, like, score-wise, it looked one way. When you watch the game, it looked another way.
See, I sort of felt like that was maybe the most dominant win of the year.
I'd have to think back on
25-11, and they didn't really threaten a lot.
Well, and that's the thing. Like they weren't threatened, but looking back on it, I don't remember. I remember thinking they were going to really take it to Tampa Bay, and I don't get the.
No, they didn't.
I didn't get the sense that like that's what I mean. Like score-wise, it might have looked like they won by I don't know what it was, 10 or 14 or whatever it was, but in the middle of the game, I felt like it could have been one of those 35-10 routes.
Okay, yes.
Yeah, they can win against Tampa Bay, but like the fact that on Sunday I'm getting texts from my dad saying, "Are they going to win a playoff game?" And me pausing.
Well,
I'm not thinking about
to pause.
I'm not thinking about the okay. Well, if they do this, who can they play? I'm just thinking in general, could they win a playoff game? And me pausing, and I was with you. Like the team had issues, but I thought going into it. Yeah, they'll fix it. Sunday was the first time, John, where I went, I don't know if they fix this.
No, I can tell you this, is that when the last drive of the game and the last drive when after the onside kick, so this is the one after the onside kick, the press box is very quiet. It's a quiet place.
Yeah, it's a church.
It's not a place where people are allowed even to – you're not supposed to be – cheering, you're not supposed to be expressing yourself. Everybody's trying to get to work. I can tell you this. Here's how it went. The first run by Jalen Hurts, you heard a murmur on the 1st and 20 after Mailata takes another penalty, which is like 3rd and 2 games. He is there's a murmur in the press box where somebody probably turns to the person next to them and says something, but you can hear it. The second run, it was more than a murmur. And then the people that were outside the press box in the stands, who stand right where you can see them outside the window, they started saying, "Bubble pass! Here comes the bubble pass! Bubble screen's coming!" And you could hear them through the glass. And I said, these people are disgusted. I said, this plays to A.J. Brown. And they did the bubble screen. And the section in front of me, they were, hands being just thrown in the air like, what the? It was unbelievable, but you heard it in the press box, too. People going, I can't believe what I just saw.
It's one thing for the opposition to kind of figure out what's coming because they spend all week looking at film. And, it's one of the reasons why Tony Romo was so popular when he came out of playing and moved into the booth was because he was able to easily figure out, okay, this is what's coming because he did that for a living, right? When the fans are able to do it, that's disheartening. You've got guys that are like, working 12-hour days and working, union jobs and working in, Walmart and Targets and, this is a blue-collar city. Like, we don't have time to break down the All-22. Like, we're not all YouTubers who are breaking down the All-22. And I do this for a living, and I'm not breaking down the All-22. And the fact that I'm able to sit there and go, here we go, same thing, 3rd and 15, here's a bubble screen. By the way, if they stop, please, for the love of God, stop doing the bubble screen to anyone but Devontae Smith or Quez Watkins. Like, to do it to an A.J. Brown, to do it to a Julio Jones like get it in the hands of your speed guys. I don't know why they keep doing it to the bigger receivers. And you're having Devontae Smith block, which, by the way, he ends up getting injured with.
Which they won't tell you what he's injured with.
So it's like a trickle down effect of just pathetic play calling, and then at the end of it, we got to hear the same stuff from the head coach defending it. Like, what are we doing here?
Here's one yesterday that really pissed me off. I got to tell you, when I heard Nick Sirianni,
just one
yesterday, there was one, and I want you to hear the first one about
a lot for me.
How difficult this last month has been for him.
You put everything. You sacrifice everything. You put everything into it. So, of course, when it doesn't, when you're not seeing the rewards of it, you're upset. I mean, but you can only be upset for so long, and you can only be down for so long, right? Because, you got to get back up and figure out what the solutions are and what the answers are to the issues that are going on. And so, obviously, anytime you go through a rut like this, yeah, it's tough, and you just got to, but I think that we've all been through things in our lives that we would all agree are tougher. And we know we came out better because of it. And, you remind yourself of those types of things in these type of moments.
Coach, you keep saying the same things. And you keep not delivering any kind of answers or any kind of changes. If they weren't going back to the same well, Pat, I could listen to that and say, okay, let's give him some rope. Let's give him a chance to fix this. But they keep going back to the same.
Oh, it's the same thing every week.
Same thing every week.
Yeah, he's reverting back to the Nick Sirianni that we saw in the opening press conference, where you had zero faith in the guy because he couldn't formulate a sentence. And it's disheartening for me because he's the head coach. And if he's the delegator, fine. Okay, he delegates, and,
sure.
And I have no problem with that if you're winning, and he's done a lot of it. But when things aren't going right and you're the delegator and you continuously have to come and defend bad play calling from your OC and bad scheme from your defensive coordinators, then at some point you got to step in and fix it.
He won't.
Because if you haven't, then you're just enabling. And at this point, I'm going like, Nick Sirianni, you're enabling. I shouldn't every week go, what do you do here?
I don't know what the answer is. But what I do know is this, is that I'm disappointed, and it rounds back to the first point. Where are you, Jason Kelsey? Where are you, Brandon Graham? Where are you, Fletcher? Where are you, Lane Johnson? Where are the biggest veteran names in this locker room? Darius Slade literally cut out on leadership. He cut out to go have a surgery that he did, that all of a sudden he needed to have as soon as Matt Patricia was coming.
I don't think that's fair at all.
Well, I got to tell you, when they needed him the most, he decided to do something that could have been done later.
I think he looked at it and said, this has been bothering me, and I want to be healthy for the playoffs. I think if this was a situation of he would have been out for the year, I would agree with you. But he'll be back for the playoffs. And I think when he got the surgery, I think they were in a winnable game. And then you had these 3-game stretches where, look, for reality, they shouldn't have needed him.
No, they shouldn't have needed them.
So I didn't look. I mean, I made the same joke about the Matt Patricia thing, but I don't think
that's a strange coincidence.
Yeah, but
at the very least, it's a strange coincidence.
But I mean, like they've worked together at this point all season long. It's not like they're avoiding each other, like Chip Kelly and others.
Well, I don't think they've worked. Have they worked together, or have they just been in the same building?
I think Matt Patricia.
I don't think Matt Patricia's in every secondary meeting.
I think he's in a few.
Yeah,
he'll stop by.
Yeah, he might stop by and say hello. I'm sure he's very welcome. Look, where are the veterans? Where are the veterans in this locker room? 610-632-0975. Yes, we can blame Nick Sirianni, and we should. And we can blame the coordinators, and we should. But where are the veterans that are supposed to be the big leaders of this franchise? The big name brand guys? You want to get in on that conversation? 610-632-0975. We'll get the day started with that John Kincade Show here on 97.5 The Fanatic. Look, I'm not just a spokesperson for H&H Heating and Air Conditioning because, first of all, I consider myself what I am. It's a customer. And I love H&H. I love DelcoHVAC.com is where you find them on the web. And January the 2nd, for those of you getting up this morning for the first time, maybe in like 7-10 days. I have
17.
great sympathy for you. For Pat, 17. I have great sympathy for you
17,
all.
18, who's counting?
Get your backsides back to work. Be careful out there on the roadways. There were some maniacs on the Schuylkill this morning, so be careful. I'm looking for veteran leadership. And I'm wondering why the veteran leaders are getting a free pass. And I mean it, a free pass. Because they should be able to have more of an impact in that locker room. And they're not. What's going on with this team and with it spiraling out of control? And why are the veterans not being more vocal? And more importantly, helping to fix this stuff. Mike and Delran's going to get us kicked off. This is always good. Michael, good morning and Happy New Year, buddy.
Yo, good morning, guys. Happy New Year.
Hey, bud.
I missed you.
Today's my first day back to work since January or December 22nd.
All right, well.
I haven't done anything.
I'm sorry to hear that.
And all it took was 5 minutes for me up on the road on 95 before I thought I was going to have an aneurysm. I think it should be mandatory that people need to renew their driver test every 4 years. We have to, let's get some money into the town, into the state. Let's just, because this is terrible. These people suck. Where's the veteran leadership? They're old, and they're probably just tired of talking. Guys like Brandon Graham and Fletcher Cox, they need to be gone. I don't think Jason Kelsey's going to do another year of this. The only leadership you got is Jalen Hurts. He don't say nothing. He don't say nothing. He doesn't do nothing. This team is a fraudulent team, and I fought it as long as I could. But you can't. No reason. There's no logical reason you lose that game to the Cardinals. There's not. You're talking about a team that was fighting for the first pick of the draft, and they came out and they beat you. They beat you.
No, they pushed you around.
They pushed you around. It's just all bad. I'm looking forward to the season to being over. Not because I'm giving up, but I can't listen to Sirianni say another word.
But are you going to be back with him next April and May and everything and like hearing what he has to say?
Oh, like.
I don't know if I'm going to like it, but I will be excited for football. But listen, I got to get through my day. Then tomorrow morning, me and my wife are taking our 37 kids to Florida till next Monday. So I'll be at Disney World. We'll be hanging out with the father-in-law. It'll be nice weather. You know what? I'm not going to give these guys a second thought because I've earned it. Go Birds!
There you go, buddy.
It's great. It's a great option.
I by the way, it's the best time as a Southerner for 20-some years. It is the best time to go to Disney World is January.
Yeah, I went college when I was a senior. We went.
It's empty.
Yeah,
The second week of January, especially once you get past the New Year's holiday here, the second week of January, third week of January, ghost town.
I went to we did Disney Universal.
Okay.
And Disney's a little more crowded, obviously. Universal was great. Like everything on the board was like 5 minutes or less.
And
except the Harry Potter ride.
Now, I mean,
he's right. I mean, when you look at who beat you, you got beat by some human being named Greg Dortch. Now I'm gonna. I
didn't even really know Greg.
I'm gonna go on record in saying that nobody in this building right now, and there's not a lot of us here. There's probably 30 or 40, but nobody knew who Greg Dortch was coming into this game. And I'm willing to bet that if we gave people truth serum, a lot of fans that are listening right now didn't know who Greg Dortch was. Greg Dortch torched your defense. You got run over by James Conner.
Well, James Conner.
And James Conner's having he's a good year. Good running back.
He's a good running back.
He's not horrible.
No.
But he's also not the best running back in the league. And you invested heavily in your front four. And you drafted highly. You drafted Jalen Carter, who's going to win Defensive Rookie of the Year. And you drafted Jordan Davis. And he just ran right over you. And then you got run over by Michael Carter, who got released by the Jets. Like, what are we doing here? You got beat by the Cardinals.
And it was a embarrassing way you got beat too.
Yeah, because you got beat by the same way that you lost to the Commanders the year before. It was the same game plan. Yeah, they killed clock. They kept the ball out of your offense's hands. The difference was last year I could accept it because it was a bump in the road and you were having an unbelievable season. This bump in the road is a giant pothole that took out your axle. And, now
I was
you're
waiting
calling
for a 76 reference for you. I'm disappointed in you.
I apologize, but, if you give me a couple more days, I'll be back in the swing of things. But
into it.
This has been a bumpy road, and now it just took out your tire, and you're waiting for AAA for 3 hours.
I want to know, though, and Brendan, we're going to get to some more callers here. The idea of why are the veteran leaders getting a pass? Why am I not hearing from Jason Kelce? Why am I not hearing from Lane Johnson? Why am I not hearing them take control of this locker room? This is why you pay these guys big money at the end of their careers to be able to be the stabilizing factor for younger players.
Yeah, it's insane. I mean, to start this year, you thought that would be the safety net, right? You go on a 1-game, 2-game losing skid. You thought those leadership, all those guys, those veteran leaders were going to be the ones that took you out of the basement, took you out of the cellar, and got you back on your feet. Now they're kind of going silent. Jason Kelce's out there. He doesn't want to answer questions. Rightfully so. I'd be frustrated too. But I think it has to come back to the coaching staff. Like, I really do think they're fed up with this coaching staff.
I think they are too.
And the way it's going. And they don't want to go out there and put their neck on the line for maybe something they don't believe in. Now, can they go out there and do it for themselves? At this point, it's probably too late. Like, I don't see this ship going back on sale. Like, they're not coming back from this. But you would have thought at some point they would go out there and just do it for themselves, and they haven't.
I think professional pride, I thought, would kick in at some point. It has not, and that's disappointing.
It hasn't.
Scott, good morning. You're on The Fanatic. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year, fellas. Good to have you back, man.
Great to be here.
Veteran leadership. I think they tried. You hear the stories about Kelce talking to Jalen, and I think it comes down to Nick just saying, this is my offense, and this is how I'm going to run it. Okay, well, it is what it is. We tried talking to him. You know, they leaked stories to the press.
They did, yep.
It's just one team, one man, one band at this point. A.J. Brown's on the sideline by himself. It's clear they get these guys checked out. Like, when our management doesn't want to listen, what more can you do?
Here the thing is, though, Scott, here's the only thing I say to you, is that a guy like Jason Kelce, a guy like Lane Johnson, a guy like Fletcher Cox, Brandon Graham, they don't have to leak a story. These guys have enough cachet with this fan base, with this organization, that if they speak up, they will be heard. They don't need to do the whisper down the lane thing and let's leak a story to Jeff McClain or to Zach Berman or something to get our message out. These guys have enough credibility that everybody in this town would respect what they had to say. They may not agree with it, but they would respect that they stood up and they said it.
Well, I think in that situation, they might not want to go and pop off because you're kind of throwing your coach under the bus. If you respectfully talk to them and then they still don't do it, then I probably would do the same thing. I'd probably leak a story and go, hey, come over here. I'll tell you what's going on. Because that's just not their character. It's not Jason Kelce's character to throw anyone under the bus. Lane Johnson, Brandon Graham, especially Brandon Graham. Like, it's just
right.
not.
It isn't their
It's
their
not them,
MO.
you know.
It's
And then it's like, all right, well then, you know, they're a distraction. They're a bad teammate. They're this and that. And reality is, like, we'd all sit there and go, yeah, we're fed up with it too.
Like, I have no problem with A.J. Brown not talking.
No, neither do I, because what's he going to tell me that's going to make me feel better about the situation? He's pissed off. I'm pissed off.
Everything he's needed to say, he said.
And more importantly, he is a guy that has spoken publicly. And Jeff McClain's piece the other day about him was brilliant, I thought, in the paper. The idea of that this is a guy who has struggled with mental issues and things like that over the years. And when you have, I know this, when I'm pissed off about something, my filter's not good.
No.
And I'm not worried about how you're feeling about, like, your feelings when I'm going to go off and tell you, and then I'll be like, look, it's here's how I really feel. I'm sorry, but this is how I feel.
I think most people are probably like that.
And I respect the guy for not wanting to be that person, because he'd get trashed for it. He's getting trashed for not talking, which to me makes no sense.
Well, I think the second time not talking, I think people are starting to come along with him. The first time, it made me a little irritated. Now I'm completely on his side, because what is there to say? And he clarified it's not against the media.
Right. He said nothing with you guys. It's nothing with you guys.
I didn't have a problem with it the first time or the second time. There's enough guys in that locker room where I don't need to hear what A.J. Brown has to say every single week.
Right.
I expect him to be pissed off, and I think Jordan Mailata said, we got a lot of pride, so I believe that. I don't think the guys are happy about losing.
I don't think there's any quit going on.
Yeah, and if I'm pissed off as a fan, I expect the guys that are getting paid to be also pretty pissed off at it. Like, they know that that's embarrassing, and I don't think that they went into that game expecting to be in a dogfight with the Arizona Cardinals, yet they found themselves in a dogfight with the damn Arizona Cardinals, getting torched by guys named Greg Dortch. Like, yeah, I think that A.J. Brown and a lot of athletes would probably go to the age-old adage of, if you don't have anything nice to say, don't say anything at all. He didn't have anything nice to say, because if he said anything nice, we come in saying he's blowing smoke.
And if he said something bad,
well, then yeah, that's the storyline, right?
Yes,
because he's already kind of been painted that this season of being a disgruntled diva wide receiver-esque because he's popping off on the sidelines. Well, you know, maybe there's something to it. Maybe the guy's right.
I'm trying to figure out how Mike from Delran hasn't been to work since December 21st.
I thought the same thing.
He's coming back to work for one day and then going to a week vacation in Florida.
I thought the same thing.
That's sort of seriously.
I'm sure I'll find out once you guys cut me.
Hey, Ian joins us. Ian, good morning. You're on the Fanatic. Happy New Year.
Hey, what's going on, fellas? Happy New Year.
Great to hear from you.
So, I'm in total disagreement with you, John. I'm
okay.
with Brendan. There's only so much that veteran leadership can do.
Well, what have they done? What have they done? Then tell me what they've done.
I'm pretty sure these guys have spoken to Nick and talked to Brian and all of that. That's why you got players like AJ not saying anything, because they've already spoken to the coaches, and the coaches fail to take into consideration what they're saying. It's not veteran leadership that calls 2 quarterback draws in a bubble screen.
No, I get you.
Leadership can't do nothing about that.
But you have to speak to the fact that the locker room has collapsed. The performance of the players has collapsed.
That it collapsed because of the coaches, not because of the veteran.
Oh, come on. The coaches aren't the ones out. Whoa. The coaches are not the ones that are out there missing tackles. The coaches are not the ones that are getting pushed around.
I agree with you that some of these things are on the players. But if you call a play, hey, you knew it was coming. Like you said, you was in press row, and everybody in front of you knew it was coming.
They did.
Christian McCaffrey knew it was coming a couple weeks ago on the Manning cast. I knew it was coming. My 11-year-old knew it was coming.
That's a smart 11-year-old. I like that.
That's not veteran leadership, John.
Well, no, I'll tell you this much. They certainly look like they were a bit passive on Sunday, that team, to me. Thank you, buddy.
It goes to the same crap we dealt with all season with this. You know, I call it the Madden 24 offense, the offense that you're running in Madden when you're playing video games. All right, well, the play worked on the left side, so let me just click R2 and flip at the field and do the same thing on the right side. Like, yeah, okay, it might work when I'm sitting there playing Madden, but in the NFL, like, Brian Johnson, what are you doing? We all knew it was dumb. And for the broadcast, for Moose Johnson to call it out and go, this is the same play. Like, even he couldn't help himself in that moment because even he's befuddled as to how dumb that was. And it's not just the first time we've seen this. It's multiple times this season where they've run the exact same play, the reverse side of the field, right after doing it unsuccessfully on the left side.
Did you watch Saturday night, Dallas and Detroit? Did you catch any of the game?
I watched the end of it.
You watch those two offenses? You watch the movement. You watch the creativity. You watch the aggressiveness. And then you watch the Eagles. And I swear, it's like I'm watching the Big Ten Network. I mean, it's like it's like football from the 70s and 80s.
Well, and what I have a problem with is, and this is the troubling thing for me, when you talk about the Detroit Lions and you're talking about a team that is led by a former player, okay, and they look good. Like, their offense looks good. That's the way it's supposed to be, right? He's an offensive-minded coach.
Right.
You look at the Dallas Cowboys, offensive-minded head coach. Philadelphia Eagles have an offensive-minded head coach, and their offense looks lost. So then you've got an offensive-minded head coach and obviously an offensive-minded OC who used to play quarterback at a high level. You've got both these guys, and they can't figure out how to get a more creative offense. Look, credit to them. They've added more motion since they've really gotten ripped for it. I've seen a little bit more of that. I approve of that, obviously. But it's been the same problems and the same lack of creativity for the majority of the game, where when it comes down to crunch time, we're seeing them fall back to their old ways and their old habits, which haven't worked all season.
610-632-0975. I want you to hear Nick Sirianni. Again, I heard him talking in the thing about how tough this has been on them. And then he's talking about the weight that's on his shoulders right now.
I think that's, expectations. And I think that always plays into it. If this is what it's supposed to look like. This is what we know we're capable of. And that's not, that's our expectations of ourselves, and knowing that we can continue to play better and coach better. And so I think that has been a little bit of it. I think, if obviously would have to spend some time thinking through that, but then my initial reaction is expectations. And like I said, we all have high expectations, the fans, us as the Eagles, the coaches, the players. And so it's just wanting to live up to the expectations.
He said expectations over and over again. Again, like a drinking game. Nick, when you go to the Super Bowl and the game is tied with like 30 seconds to go, the expectations are there. Yes. And the fact that you're telling me that you're weighed down by them and that this team is struggling with the weight of expectations on their shoulder, you were 10-1. I didn't hear at one point when you were 10-1, did I hear you complaining about the weight of expectations? Not ever. And
no, at that point it was, when did winning not be the only thing that mattered?
Yes, and that was what the talking point was. Now all of a sudden it's about the weight of expectations on their shoulders. I don't give a damn about the weight of expectations, honestly. When your roster's supposedly this good, and maybe we overvalued it a bit, that you're an NFC champion defending team, you're a 10-1 team, and then you collapse like this. I don't want to hear about the weight of expectations.
No,
I mean that is to me that was a really red flag answer from him yesterday.
I thought this a couple weeks now, but I'm looking forward to it, but dreading the Jeff McClain either podcast, because we talked about Uncovering the Birds, great podcast he does.
Excellent.
Or the article that's going to come out around March, probably.
Okay.
That really breaks down what went wrong with this team this year. And it's going to happen. Like, we're good at.
You have a theory what the storyline will be?
I think that they probably had lack of faith in their head coach, who didn't have answers on how to fix a ball that was rolling downhill. They lost faith in Brian Johnson, and they just didn't know how to stop it, and the quarterback was too loyal to him.
I think those are legitimate theories.
If I had to guess,
I don't believe they've quit on the head coach, but I believe they've completely lost faith in him.
No, but it's getting to the point where you're about to be back to where you were when we left Vegas.
Yep.
Nick Sirianni's first year, and you were damn close to losing that locker room.
You were 2-5.
And then you decided to hand over the reins to Shane Steichen. You went to a more ground attack. You took the ball out of Jalen Hurts' hands, throwing 50 times a game, and you ended up making the playoffs. But you're getting close to being back there.
Certainly are. 610-632-0975. Where is the veteran leadership on this team? And more importantly, the theories about why this team is breaking down at this point. This is a monumental collapse. And speaking of monumental collapses, I have one question I have to ask you about another one. We'll get to that next. It's the John Kincade Show. Welcome aboard. 2024 is here. Thanks for spending as much time with us as you can. Be sure to take that app with you everywhere you go. Be sure to be listening in your office at 975thefanatic.com. You know, Bet Park.
Beasley Media Group station. Official home of the Sixers, Flyers, Union, and the best Eagles talk in Philadelphia. 97.5 The Fanatic. Now, back to the John Kincade Show on 97.5 The Fanatic, Philadelphia.
How are the Eagles going to approach the game against the Giants on Sunday at 4:25? We'll get to that coming up here. You'll hear from Nick Sirianni. And how you approach that last game. Do you hope that Dallas somehow gets upset by the Commodes, or do you just play it? We'll hear from Nick Sirianni coming up in a moment. There was something that came out over the weekend that I couldn't wait to talk with you, Brendan. Bob, too. We'll talk to Bob tomorrow about it.
Was it a movie, a TV show?
It was I guess it's a documentary.
Okay, I like documentaries.
It was the Phillies 2023 highlight video.
Don't like that documentary. I'll see you later.
Yeah, I'm not watching that.
And I did. I did. And I'll tell you, because Kevin Cooney said it to me yesterday.
Oh, why would you do that to
He
yourself?
says it's Trey Turner is the person
voice?
who is the voice of it.
I don't hate that.
It's like a love letter to the city. It's like this love letter between this team.
It's a puff piece.
I will tell you this. It's so ridiculous. It is so ridiculous that it's like, oh, good times. And then game 6 and game 7, well, it's just sort of like, let's just go. But it's this like love letter from Trey Turner to the city. And it's absolutely contrived. Absolutely contrived. But more importantly to me, I didn't watch the Eagles didn't put out some highlight video after the 2002 season when they crapped the bet against Tampa Bay in the closing of the vet and put out this city has a romance with this team that is just we love this team and this team loves the city.
You watched this thing to get angry.
Oh, it was
You did. You watched it to get angry.
I couldn't believe that it's honestly.
Well, they put it out every year.
Yeah,
No,
they
but
put it out the perfect weekend this year, just in time for Arizona to come back to Philly and crap on us again.
I swear to you, we have had
That's a good
Arizona
point.
has had
That's a good point.
Arizona in one calendar year from February through January literally has just punked this city. But I'm telling you, Pat, I'm warning you, don't watch it.
I'm not. I mean, I've
Don't
watched
watch it.
I've watched the one last year, Bedlam at the Bank.
Well, that was it. That was a different year.
And no,
And to me,
but I watched
that's
that
cool.
one, and you stop when Harper hits the home run to send him to the World Series. You just stop there. This year, I'm good. I don't need to. The people that are like clamoring for baseball and stuff. I get it.
I can't wait to hear baseball back.
Were you clamoring for baseball in 2015? Like, I don't know. I'll be weird. All right, and I'm a guy that has 4 season tickets. Okay,
Right, you do.
And
you're a consumer.
my work uniform is Phillies jerseys, and I've got about 30 of them. All right, I'm a huge Phillies fan. I'll put my hand up. I need a break during the offseason. Like it's a long season, no matter if the team's doing well or not. Baseball is a long grind. I'm not sitting there clamoring for baseball in late December. I'm just not. And normally I'll kind of get that itch around late February, right after the NFL
right around
season,
then, and we'll be there.
I'll when all that's left is basketball and hockey and football's done and
UFL.
you're kind of gearing up. Oh, of course UFL, yeah, the XFL merger. Who's not excited about that? That's when I kind of get geared up. Late December, I can't muster, especially this year. Not just the way that the season ended, but like last year, there was a fervor in the city for baseball because they had gotten to the World Series and they had just signed Trey Turner.
Yes.
And this year, the big move, and I'm not a fan of it, but a lot of people are, is you brought back Aaron Nola. So it wasn't like there was a big free agent acquisition that can kind of get you amped for next season. It's more of like, okay, well, you kind of hope that Trey Turner has the August and September, but he has it for the entire season this run. And it's hard for us. It's also hard for me to get excited when I see what the Dodgers did. Like, I'm terrified of that team.
It's also very much going to be just like this Eagles season where it's like World Series or bust, right? Like, to me, there's no in-between anymore.
No.
It's either get the job done or don't. But
there's an
it's not a
in-between for
joy. You think so?
Yeah, for me, there is.
I still have a lot of joy in the ride. I do. I like the season.
Yeah, no, I mean, like, for me, baseball is so it's hard to win a championship in any sport, but baseball is so weird that for me, it's not necessarily World Series or bust. Especially, as I said, when you see what the Dodgers have done. The scary part is the Dodgers have arguably the best farm system in baseball. So it's hard for me to go, all right, you need to win the World Series or I'm going to be angry. when you're going probably up against a team that has Ohtani and Yamamoto and that team's loaded, Mookie Betts and Freddie Freeman and all that.
I'm going to love seeing I'm telling you, though, Brendan, don't watch it.
I'm not watching. I didn't have any plans to.
You're a sicko.
The love affair between this city and its Phillies is just amazing, and we have such a love affair.
I love the Phillies too, but I'm not watching that.
Game 6, that was a monumental last year. Was a monumental choke job.
Horrible.
And it's being like romanticized.
I don't need to remember it 3 months after it ended. Like I still am very much in that mindset, leaving that Game 7 miserable.
But they gloss over that. That's all glossed over.
Well,
it's like what a beautiful year we had, and we love each other, and the love that this
it wasn't
city
even
shows.
Fun. Like it was very much frustrating last year.
I had fun.
It was a fun year.
No, it wasn't as fun as it should have been in my mind.
Anytime you beat the Braves, it's fun.
Yeah.
I can't wait to see Chris Sale. I can't wait to see the Braves come in here with Chris Sale and see him lose in the postseason next year.
He has to be healthy to come in here, and he's been very hard time doing that.
5 years.
I mean, so there's joy in it for me, seeing that. I love seeing them beat the Braves.
Yeah.
But other than that, I mean, come on.
I can't believe you watched it.
Don't watch it. So I'm just warning you, don't watch
You're
it.
a glutton.
And
I'm somebody that watches a lot of bad movies and shows and documentaries.
Okay, don't watch that. Don't watch it. And Pat, I will raise my hand and say yes. I did sort of watch it to be pissed because I was like, I can't believe they're promoting it like that. The love affair with this city.
That's me with Sirianni.
So nice.
That's me with Sirianni's pressers. Like I'm not going to watch it because it's going to piss me off. And then I end up seeing the quotes on Twitter, and what happens? I get pissed off.
But
like I started going off yesterday about Nick Sirianni's presser.
You can never figure out what game he's even talking about because it's the same nonsense week after week after week.
Cut and paste, man.
It really
is. Cut and paste.
7 o'clock hour of the John Kincade Show, brought to you by the all-new Bet Parks app. Sportsbook and casino in one sleek, easy-to-use app. Pennsylvania, Jersey, Ohio, Maryland. You're going to absolutely love it. I want you to hear from Nick Sirianni because he's got a game on Sunday. And the question is, does this team need a rest? A bye week, or does this team need to go out there and play? And Nick Sirianni talked about whether he is going to rest his players or not.
You can't control that game, right? There's so many different things that you can't control in there. So you got to do what you got to do to win this game. And hey, we also got to get out of the rut that we're in, And so I'm not saying to you yes, I'm not saying to you no. I'm saying to you that everything's discussed, but there are some unknowns about the game. Dallas and Washington, and we got to play and coach good football too. And so, and to be able to go into the playoffs not in a rut. And so everything's on the table. We'll think through everything on that. We're preparing right now to play the Giants, and that's been our big conversation so far. Later this evening, tomorrow we'll discuss more about playing and who's up and who's down. So we'll see.
How do you want this game to be approached? At 610-632-0975. I honestly would be fine if they just said, we're going to rest people and try to mentally take a little bit of a break and try to get ready for the postseason. I would be okay with it because that's a terrible place to play, injury-wise.
Yeah, I mean, the turf tears knees up.
And so I would be okay with it. I'd be okay if they said that.
You're better at this than I am. What's the loss ramification if they end up?
They're the 5 seed.
So if they lose to the 5, if they win, they're the what?
If they win and Washington upsets Dallas, they can be the 2 seed. They could still be the 2 seed.
Yeah, they're gonna end up playing everybody. I probably would do that too. I'd play everybody.
You'd play it and say we have to take this seriously.
You know what's terrifying is, for me as an Eagles fan, you should be able to go into MetLife and have the utmost confidence that by the second quarter, you're out of there, right? You're out. You got the win locked up. Marcus Mariota start warming up. We're good. Let's get ready for the playoffs. And I don't.
No.
Because they're starting Tyrod Taylor, and he's had, a 17-year NFL career, and he's not Tommy DeVito. So I'm sitting there, and my anxiety level is going to be up, and it shouldn't be up for Tyrod Taylor.
No, it shouldn't be.
And it's going to be. And that in and of itself is frustrating to me as an Eagles fan, that I know I'm going to be anxious over a Tyrod Taylor game.
Well, Tyrod Taylor gave you reason to be anxious when you watched him when he came in the game.
We were doing pregame on Sunday, me, Andrew, and Bob, and they both said they thought the Eagles were going to roll. And
I did too.
I thought the Eagles were going to win, but I said I don't think they roll.
So you didn't think it'd be a roll?
I think Kyler Murray is still an NFL quarterback. I think he keeps it. He keeps them into it with his legs, and this defense hasn't shown me that they can stop anybody. And what do? They go out and they proceed to lose to the Cardinals. Like, I didn't expect that to happen, but it's like they just haven't been able to really keep NFL quarterbacks in check the last, month?
Yeah, at least. At least.
I mean, they're on a 1-3 skid.
And what I would say to you, too, is that this team just looks like they look like they don't have answers.
No, I mean, you listen to who they've lost to. The last, 5 games. Oh, okay, Brock Purdy, MVP conversation.
Not a problem.
Dak Prescott,
not
MVP conversation. Fine.
Not a problem.
You lost to Drew Lock. Okay? You barely squeaked by Tyrod Taylor. And you might have lost that game had he started the full game.
Correct.
And then you lost to Kyler Murray. But you didn't really lose to Kyler Murray so much. You lost to the running game of the Arizona Cardinals. I just throw my hands up at this point and go, I don't know what this team is. I don't know who they're stopping.
And none of the explanations that we're getting from the coaching staff tell you that we understand.
No.
We understand what's going on here, and we have a plan to fix it.
No, I don't have any faith as an Eagles fan that this coaching staff has any clue on how to stop this, which is probably the most concerning thing for me. This is the first time that this coaching staff has really dealt with high-pressure expectations, and they're not handling it well. Nick Sirianni's first year, there were no expectations. They made the playoffs great, but we all thought it was Fugazi. Second year, you kind of just want them to make the playoffs again to prove that it's not Fugazi. And, if they win a playoff game, great. They end up going to the Super Bowl. So now its expectations are at an all-time high.
Yes.
And they were rolling, and they were handling it okay. And, they were chinks in the armor, but it's fine, and they're winning and all that. And then all of a sudden, those problems started to arise more and more, and San Francisco completely broke them. And now the coaching staff looks like Tweedledee and Tweedledum.
And Nick Sirianni, to me, talking about sort of dealing with the pressure of, the crucible of expectations, really bothers me. It bothers me to no end.
Well, yeah, because this is Philly.
Exactly.
Normally there are expectations for the Eagles, and
yes.
and when you come in, you do have that grace period as a head coach. But even when you have a grace period as a head coach, we still had issues with Nick Sirianni those first 6 games or whatever. We left, as we talked about, Vegas going like, is this dude it? But you have a grace period nonetheless. I mean, you're going to have expectations, man. Like Andy Reid dealt with this for 13 seasons.
He did.
There was 12 seasons where he didn't have expectations. I'm sorry, there was 12 seasons where he did have expectations. Yeah, like for 12 seasons, this guy dealt with Super Bowl or bust pretty much. Like, stop.
He did. And to act like, to actually admit that it's getting to you and that the pressure he thinks is getting to his locker room, then that means we've got the wrong players. That means we got the wrong players. That means we got the wrong coaches. So, I mean, it's part of it.
Yeah, we all remember and we all laughed about it when Jeffrey Lurie introduced Doug Peterson and talked about emotional intelligence, but this is kind of what he was talking about. A head coach that has an idea on how to stop it and how to kind of right the ship and keep guys in line. And, Doug kind of lost his way a little bit towards the end there that last season, but he was dealing with a lot of stuff of, the internal crap of Carson Wentz and Jalen Hurts and starting and who. But for the most part, like, that dude dealt with bumps in the road a lot better than Nick Sirianni. Like, that dude lost the MVP of the league and ended up winning the Super Bowl with a backup quarterback. And then that same quarterback had to come back, and you had to go back to Nick Foles in the playoffs. Like, he dealt with that. And Nick Sirianni's dealt with a pretty healthy roster for the most part.
For the most part.
Every team in the league is dealing with injuries. The Eagles are no different. But for the most part, like, he hasn't lost, massive, huge pieces like a Jalen Hurts. He hasn't lost an A.J. Brown, right? And he hasn't handled this skid well. And that's told me a lot about Nick Sirianni as a leader.
So Brendan, just let's take people behind the scenes here. So we had a caller, a Cowboy.
Yeah, his name was Cowboy. I mean,
Cowboy. Yeah, I'm sure his name's Cowboy.
He wasn't the worst Cowboys fan I've ever encountered on the phone,
right.
But he definitely wanted to get his.
Well, what I would say is this: is that we have a Cowboy fan who has called the show all year long. We love him.
Yeah,
love him.
Guy.
We have a Ravens fan who calls the show.
Yep.
We love him.
Yeah.
Is if you don't call and you call, and then now you come out of the woodwork like a cockroach underneath the refrigerator, it's not the same. No, that's not this isn't. Call Dallas. There's radio stations in Dallas. You can call, and you can go and do your boasting.
Thank you for listening.
Yeah, we appreciate it. It's great, but
thank you for listening.
But
it's not like they look the best either. Like they should have lost.
By the way, they lost to the Cardinals too.
Yeah.
And by the way,
it's tough to lose to the Cardinals. I mean, we've done it and they've done it. So
hey, well, hey, look, we're talking about it here. You need right now. They're going to have to in a big way. They've got to perform. They must get to the NFC title game.
Yeah.
With the Eagles out of the mix now, right? I mean, the Eagles potentially out of the mix. I just don't believe this team. I do believe this team can go on the road and win a wild card game. Absolutely, against the NFC South champion, whoever it is. Whether Tampa is in the driver's seat, could be the Saints. I do believe they go on the road and they can win a game. Do I believe then they could win a Dallas? Win at Dallas and then win at San Fran, or win at San Fran and then win at. No, I do not.
No,
and they've crushed that in me.
No, and I mean this is a pretty epic choke job that they've had. I mean they were in the driver's seat and they had the number 1 seed, and we all talked about the gauntlet that they were in. And you lose to San Fran the way you did, fine, but then you followed up with getting smacked by Dallas, and then you're losing to Drew Lock, and then you're squeaking by the Giant. It's just They were broken by San Fran. They just were. They got broken by that team, and they haven't recovered.
And I think it's real. Look, and here is one thing I would say to the Cowboys fan. So I'm not being a homer here. I said it yesterday, and I'll say it again. The same energy that we have come with for 20-some years in this town, for mocking the Cowboys for their gag jobs, for choking, and everything like that, should be directed at the Eagles. Should be, because this is an epic gag job. This is one of the.
It is. It's not over yet.
I got you.
Yeah.
But if this team winning a wild card game is not what the expectation was.
No, I got you.
So I mean, but this collapse, we would be mocking any other rival that did it. If it was the Giants, if it was the Cowboys, or otherwise, the Eagles deserve every bit of that same energy.
Well, I disagree with that.
Okay.
The Dallas energy, a lot of it comes from their fan base is annoying, which most fan bases are. Let's be real.
Do you think our fan base is annoying to other cities?
That's what I said. Most fan bases are.
Exactly.
Okay. But their fan base has a tendency to talk a lot, and they haven't won in 30-something years.
That is.
So that's the big thing with me is like, if you were the gold standard, if you were the team that had, won a Super Bowl and the 2000s even.
Right. Exactly.
Fine. Okay, you can talk, and I'm just gonna have to sit there and listen to it. But listening to Dallas fans and San Fran fans, for that matter, I'll admit that the Eagles are a worse team right now than those two squads. But
yes,
pump your chest now, but you better win. Because my problem too is the same Dallas fan that calls now. If Dallas ends up losing in the first round, they won't call.
And Brendan was in pull-ups the last time Dallas went to an NFC title game.
Yeah, how old were you?
You were wearing pull-ups. He wasn't even
remember
2.
it.
You weren't even 2.
Yeah, I don't think so. I don't remember them ever being that far.
28 years, so you were in like pull-ups.
Yeah, literally 2 years old. So
you're peeing your pants.
Well, I mean,
that's fine, man. It happens. We all got to learn.
No, he was in the pull-ups, though. I mean,
probably a little bit,
And they've been wearing pull-ups ever since crapping the bed every
you got
every boat season.
It's probably a good Christmas for you. Got Tickle Me Elmo, right? You remember that? Oh yeah, you had some fun with that Tickle Me Elmo. You tickled the crap out of that Elmo, didn't you?
There was a dancing.
I tried my best.
There was a dancing Elmo after. There was a dancing Elmo after that.
Was there? Oh yeah, there was
something. And Olivia freaked out.
Was you scared of it?
Scared of it. Scared of it. Didn't like it. Didn't want it. But she was just like one. So it was just not going over well. But she also did not like the Snuffleupagus or Big Bird. If they were on,
I like Snuff.
She literally would go behind the chair when they were on the TV.
Really?
And did not like Snuffy or Big Bird.
Sesame Place just in general is weird.
I think so too.
The whole concept is weird.
No, I disagree.
I think it's a strange concept.
I like it. I mean, I'm not going there by myself, obviously, and it's a little bit of a trek for me.
No, but I think
I did get dragged there last winter.
No, not Sesame Place.
I did say Sesame Place.
Yeah, you said Sesame Place.
Sesame Street.
Yeah,
is the odd thing. It's odder than that Phillies highlight video.
Actually, no, I don't think.
Which, by the way, a couple people said too the same thing. It was the sappiest, The love story.
I thought the year before was the same thing. Like
Yeah,
I think
they're
most
the
years,
same thing.
yeah,
They're always
it's
that.
It's the same. It's the same crap. You get like some leader on the team.
I believed it though last year.
narrates
Like I loved
script.
watching it last year.
But last year,
Last
I mean,
year was-
the message was easier to take.
Yeah, like you didn't expect that run to happen, so I want to relive that, right? Like I left that World Series, I was disappointed, but I was like, that was awesome.
Yeah, you didn't choke to the Arizona Diamondbacks.
I mean, it was an epic. It was an epic choke job. And putting out this romantic video about Game 6 and Game 7 was a gag job. And here's Trey Turner telling me about
I'm
it.
still mad about Game
I mean,
7.
it's.
I thought about Game 7. I couldn't sleep last night. I thought about Game 7. That's like
the Arizona,
probably like 1 a.m. Yeah.
Oh, geez.
I don't know what it was. It was something about Ranger Suarez like popped into my head.
And Ranger,
I'm not even making this up. It was like I could not sleep last night. I was tossing and turning. You know how when you can't sleep, like random things will pop in your head.
wasn't it 5 innings though for Ranger that was
And
really good?
that's what annoyed me is the fact that they pulled Ranger Suarez like 4 innings into the game.
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah, it's
What'd they do?
It's 1:30 in the morning in 2024, and I'm sitting here pissed off about Ranger Suarez getting pulled 3 months ago.
All I could think about was Pat over the holidays, and I did almost text you, but the time of day was, I said, okay, he could potentially be sleeping.
Oh, you can text me. Whenever. I got
There was a two girls on top of a television tower movie on Netflix.
Oh, I know exactly what movie you're talking about.
It horrified me. The whole concept of the movie horrified me.
It was bad. It was a bad movie.
They climbed up a 2,000-foot television
I watched
tower,
it this year.
and the ladder then falls off.
It's horrible.
And the girls are stuck at the top of this tower. It is It's a horrifying movie.
Fall.
The Fall.
It's horrible.
It's a bad movie, but it's
Oh,
horrifying.
my God.
And I said, damn, I can't turn this off.
It was only an hour and a half, and about 45 minutes in, I wish I was on that tower so I could have fallen off because it was so bad.
Why does Nick Sirianni think this team can't hold leads? Well, we have our own theories, and I'm sure you do too. We'll hear from him next. John Kincade Show on 97.5, The Fanatic. If you'd rather run with the
On Kincade Show on 97.5 The Fanatic, Philadelphia.
Eagles season's still alive. John Kincade Show, 97.5 The Fanatic. It's I would say the paddles are out, but the season is still alive.
I wouldn't even say paddles are out.
Oh, I do. I think this team's on. I think this team is on. I think they're on life support. I really do. I think they're on life support. This could go really bad, Pat.
Oh yeah,
I mean,
it's trending that way.
It could go really, really bad.
Like I'm honestly, I'm not looking forward to that. My worry is the Jeff McClain article comes out like the week before the Super Bowl, that like dead week. I'm not looking forward to that deep dive into
what really happened.
Sources tell the Inquirer that this happened, that happened, and then we break it down. And yeah, I'm not looking forward to that.
Not looking forward to it. I don't blame you. I mean, this is not supposed to be this way.
I wanted a happy run.
I know that Jalen Hurts has disappointed me a bit in that I really do look. I know what leadership looks like, and I don't think it looks like what he's portraying. I know what leadership looks like. I know what taking responsibility looks like. I know that after a loss like that, sitting at the podium and scrolling on your phone and checking and see if you have any like spinach in your teeth or something like that just seems very casual to me. I'm just disappointed that there isn't more urgency out of him. And it's like, oh, well, he's so cool and he's so relaxed. I expect more. Like I started the show today, I expect more out of the veteran leaders of this team. I expect them to have more of a sense of urgency. And I haven't seen it.
I just don't think that that's a part of Jalen Hurts' DNA, is to ever be too animated. And I don't think he's ever going to be that guy that really hits a panic button, if you will.
Okay.
Or even acknowledges that there's a panic button in the room. For me, I mean, me and Andrew were talking about this. Like, I like watching Jalen Hurts play football.
I do too.
I loathe listening to Jalen Hurts talk about anything. I mean, that guy is milquetoast to me. He is about as exciting as watching paint dry on a wall.
He says nothing.
He does. He says a lot of words, and it's nothing. And it's annoying to me as a fan, win or lose, mind you. Win or lose, it's annoying to me. It's like Carson Wentz's outfits. When they were winning, we were annoyed by them. And when they were losing, they were like the most annoying thing in the world. For me, that's Jalen Hurts' answers at a press conference. But they're annoying to me. I can only imagine there's probably a couple people in the room that are annoyed by the cookie cutter, the standard, and winning's the only thing that, when did winning become the only thing that mattered? And like all the contrived BS that you hear from him seemingly weekly. And it's like, you're getting, we talked about Nick Sirianni earlier. You're getting the same thing from Nick Sirianni week to week. It's cut and paste. It's the same thing from Jalen Hurts. It's cut and paste every week.
If you're trotting out the same, like when they were 9-1, 10-1, and you're doing hey, when did winning not be the thing that matters? When you go on this kind of losing skid, you better have the same energy to come back and have a responsible answer for it. Because you wanted to do the nanny boo boo. We're winning. Why are you criticizing us? So you wanted to do that. So you need an answer. You need to give us answers when you're losing.
Reminds me a little bit of how annoyed we would get when Andy Reid would say, "I got to do a better job."
Oh yeah,
and it was always after a loss. Obviously, he was rarely saying it after a win. And after a loss, we'd sit there and go, "All right, when are you going to do a better job?" It's the crutches that these guys use, and we all use them in our day-to-day lives, especially people that talk for them. We all have them. But for them, it's even more amplified because it's coming after losses where we go, like, you shouldn't even have had to sweat that game out. And I have to hear the same stuff. This is a game where you should have fixed.
Let's see what Josh has to say. Josh, Happy New Year. Welcome to the Fanatic.
Hey, what's going on?
We're trying to sort things out. We're looking through the rubble.
I don't know how many times this season, and again, the defense is just completely burnt toast, so it's irrelevant. But Jalen Hurts is not elite. He keeps saying he's elite. He has 19 turnovers this year. Just wait till he doesn't have the supporting cast that he currently has. What's going to happen then? I can't believe that we were literally talking about the Cowboys beating the Lions because it'll help us record-wise, and we're about to lose the division.
about to lose the division. We're not going to be a second seed anymore.
It's the truth. I mean, everything you said. There's no arguing. There's no arguing in any of that.
This is about to be Carson Wentz 2.0. Mark my words. Just watch it and watch what happens.
I'm not ready to go there.
I'm not ready to go there either.
And you weren't ready to go there after Carson Wentz won 11 games and then played like crap moving forward.
You're right. You're right, Josh. I wasn't ready to go there. I'll put my hand up and say I wasn't ready to go there, and I'm not ready to go there again.
Yeah, I mean, it's
just not.
And more importantly is
maybe it's naivete on my part.
It could be.
Yeah, maybe.
I think I was naive. I think I was naive because I kept thinking, despite the fact, and we talked about it yesterday morning with Kevin and Silvana. We're in. I said all summer long, I'm really concerned that they have two unproven coordinators coming in here for a Super Bowl team.
You did.
And then what did I do? I said the Eagles are winning the Super Bowl. I questioned it.
Yeah.
And it was my biggest concern and big worry and everything. And then during the season, they're 8-1, 9-1, 10-1, and I keep thinking they're going to fix this. And I kept doubling down on I believe they're going to fix it. So I'm part of the problem.
I believed Sunday.
I'm not part of the solution.
Sunday at 12:30. If you would have asked me if they're going to fix it, I would have said yeah. And then the game happened, and that was the first moment where I was like, they ain't fixing crap.
Yeah, it didn't look like they were fixing it.
And look, to Josh's point, a large part of my reluctance to say that Jalen Hurts is going to be Carson Wentz 2.0 is, what are the odds that happens again? Like, it's a large part of it. What are the odds you have an MVP candidate who finishes second in the running, who you could make a case should have won the damn award,
Correct.
and then all of a sudden he falls off a cliff? Hey, look, if there was one franchise where it would happen to, it would be the Philadelphia Eagles. That's for sure. But I'm just hard-pressed to say, all right, it's going to happen again. Just because I saw it once before and it wasn't that long ago. I'm going with law of averages here.
Well, here's where Josh is completely, I think, off base on that. And I understand the urge to go, man, could there be a parallel here?
Yeah, there's...
Jalen Hurts has not lost his teammates in the least. He has not lost his teammates. He has not lost the locker room. He is not, people are not like, man, Jalen Hurts is just people are really pissed at Jalen. There's a completely different dynamic between Jalen Hurts and his teammates and Carson Wentz and his teammates. And that's the difference in the story.
I think Jalen Hurts, well, the Carson Wentz stuff for me, it was locker room angle, obviously, big part of it. But also I think injuries really took a toll on him.
Oh, my gosh, the back, the head.
Look, he rushes way back from the torn ACL a month early, which is insane. I mean, statistically, when you look at guys coming back from it in a normal time span, they don't look right for a year. He came back a month early, which is ridiculous. Then
why did he come back early?
Because Nick Foles wasn't playing well,
and that's the truth too. And a lot of people want to look past.
Yeah,
that.
and then he has the back injury, and then I think he completely lost his pocket awareness. It reminded me of David Carr.
David Carr.
Everybody says David Carr would have been a good quarterback had he just sat for a year and hold a clipboard and not had the crap beat out of him. But he gets sacked 300 times or whatever it was, and next thing you know, you get a little skittish there. And I think that's what happened with Carson Wentz. Jalen Hurts hasn't had to deal with that, and I think he's being held back by poor coaching. Now, maybe that's on him because he doesn't check out of things and audible too much. We all remember Carson Wentz kill. You don't really hear Jalen Hurts audible all that much, it seems like.
No.
So maybe that's on him, but I'm not ready to just sit there and go, all right, Jalen Hurts, he's Carson Wentz 2.0. I think he's still pretty elite, even with the turnovers this year. I get it. I understand the call, but maybe I'm being naive once again.
Of the hot take artists, by the way, David Carr is an absolute coward with a capital C. I have twice reached out and said, hey, you wanted to have a conversation with Philly? We got an opportunity for you to come on anytime you want.
You won't
We're here for it. Won't come on. So he talks it like, hey, I want to talk about it. Come on. Let's talk about it. And then he doesn't have the guts to do it. Yeah, so complete coward with a capital C.
He just got bumped down the Fresno State depth chart, in my opinion.
Now,
alumni.
Here's Leonard's with us. Leonard, good morning. You're on the Fanatic. Happy New Year, buddy.
I guess Happy New Year. excluding the Eagles. They don't get a Happy New Year.
Okay, buddy.
One of the things I want to talk about, just like with the Sixers, I went with some Beeb and trying to figure out what we have with the new coach. Listen, guys, we were one play away from the Super Bowl. Jalen Hurts was one play from the MVP. And now all of a sudden he can't play. It's not logical. I refuse to think that the logical explanation is that all of a sudden Jalen Hurts fell off a cliff. We need new coordinators. That 1st and 20 series is
terrible.
The epitome of why. The epitome of why.
How do you not go twice to give A.J. Brown twice a chance to make plays out of your 3 plays?
You know how you look at Sirianni's face, and that sums it up. That's it. He is clueless, along with Brian Johnson. It's ridiculous.
Well, Brian Johnson still has, and there are people that are just going to just die on that mountain. Thank you, Leonard. That are just going to die on the Brian Johnson defense mountain. I have no idea where. I have no idea why it exists. Here's what I don't understand. I don't understand why the Brian Johnson truthers, why that stance even exists. Because
I am with you.
I don't get it because there's no cachet with Brian Johnson. He doesn't have a resume of that you should believe in him. He doesn't have a resume of success here that you say we should believe in him. So I don't understand they're going to die on the mountain. Well, it's not Brian Johnson's fault. That Brian Johnson has been bailed out, and by the way, they're covering for him. And again, I asked it before. You cannot show me when he was hired, his introductory press conferences, training camp, September, October, even early November, where anybody ever said, well, Brian Johnson's just calling the plays. This isn't his offense. This is my offense. Nick Sirianni fell on a freaking sword for this guy and tried to cover for him. So it is ridiculous to be like, oh, yeah. And then November, by the way, oh, yeah, all along, this has been my offense, and Brian Johnson's just calling the plays. We never heard that. Not once. Can't show it to me. And I even talked to beat writers the other day. I said, you never heard that, right? Because I just want to make sure. Nah, I never heard that.
No, I agree. I think he's completely covering for him.
And by the way, I sort of respect it.
Oh, I mean, I
think
to
cover for him.
I think Nick Sirianni has fallen over himself to cover for both sides of the ball.
I think that's fair.
That's, I talked about it a little bit earlier in the show. It's frustrating to me because that means you're delegating, and if you're delegating, it's fine. But stop falling over yourself to cover for these guys and just fix it. Step in, because you didn't.
Does he have the ability though, Pat?
And that's very concerning to me. I don't know. And I'm leaning towards no. I'm leaning towards he doesn't have the ability. I'm leaning towards he doesn't have the answers. But when you're covering for your offensive coordinator who has taken this offense, and look, points aside, I know that points win games and all that, but like when you watch this offense, there's something missing. And it's creativity, it's motion, it's predictability. And when you have players leaking stuff to the media about it, there is cause for concern. I'm sorry. Brian Johnson, you ain't it. And for the Brian Johnson truthers, if anyone's defending either of the coordinators, I don't care if it's Matt Patricia, Sean Desai, or Brian Johnson, there's an issue. Coaching staff, all of them. I mean, other than maybe Michael Clay. It's amazing.
By the way, he's had a great year.
Yeah,
he's had a great year.
That's the amazing thing, right? And it is a year-to-year thing. I was a fan of the Brian Johnson hire. Had no problem with it at the time. It has not worked out.
It is
just
okay.
hasn't.
It is. See what you just did there, Pat? It's okay to say, I got it wrong. I flat out said, I got it.
I never said that.
No, but there are things you get wrong.
I never said that.
It's okay to just be like, okay, I've been on this Brian Johnson train. I've been on this Sean Desai train. I've been on, trying to protect these guys, and defend them. I was wrong. I doubled in. I was wrong on thinking, I told you over and over again, yeah, the Eagles are going to get this fixed. They're going to get this fixed. This team's too talented. They're too good. I was wrong. It's not hard to just say you got it wrong.
I'm not saying that.
Yeah, you're not.
I was right.
I know Provolone Joe would say it. Hey, Happy New Year, Pro.
Hey, Happy New Year, everybody. I got to tell you, man, you know what bothers me? This should have been like the going away, the farewell tour for Lane Johnson and Kelsey and Graham and Cox. And it started out that way, 10-1. You're thinking, man, these guys came back to win one, And now it's just overshadowed by, it's just dreck. It's so bad out there.
But, Joe, where are they? Where are these leaders? Where are these leaders? Where are these veteran guys who supposedly are on their final, heading towards their final cowboy ride, and nothing happens?
I get it, John. I understand that those four guys, but, I don't think Lane's letting up huge sacks. I don't think, I see Kelsey that has some penalties, but, these guys, they're trying to do their thing, but I think it's unraveling so fast. Like, usually a team hits a decline a little at a time. This just happened in a 4 or 5 game span.
It's that it's the 49er game, Joe.
It just happened so fast, John, and that's the problem. And they turned into a sandlot team. I mean, you see the defense. Guys aren't doing what they usually do. Offense, everything is Hurts. Get around the edge and see if you scramble and find someone open. Step up in the pocket every now and then. How about that? How about audible? If you don't like the play, call an audible.
Yeah, we feel your energy.
The lack of audibles to me is
strange.
And maybe it's something I'm just missing while watching the game. Maybe he is doing it, and I just don't recognize the sign for it. I mean, Carson Wentz doing kill was pretty obvious that it was an audible, right? And
right.
Maybe I'm just missing it, but it seems like the play comes in, and no matter what, they're doing the play.
I will tell you this, though, Pat, is that people just assume that NFL quarterbacks can audible, and they have the option to audible.
Yeah,
I will tell you that Matt Ryan won an MVP in the 2016 season, and in the Super Bowl, I will tell you flat out, he was not allowed to audible out of Kyle Shanahan's plays. He was the
for a half. It looked good. I'll be honest with you. I was with him for a half.
But he was the MVP of the league, and he was not allowed to audible. That's Kyle Shanahan. Whatever his play call was, that was the play call. You do not audible out of it. And Matt should have said "screw you" and audibled out of it.
Yeah, what are you going to do?
But he didn't. What are you going to do? You're already going to San Francisco at the end of this game, whatever. But he didn't. And so, I mean, sometimes people think, oh, well, they should audible. There are coaching staffs that do not allow their quarterbacks to audible. It's terrible.
I think maybe whoever was doing the defense then that game probably should audible because it was,
damn,
it was rough.
Hey, Rob joins us. Rob, good morning. You're on the Fanatic. How are you, buddy?
Hey, good morning, brother. How you doing? Happy New Year, fellas.
Happy New Year.
Hey, quick question. Who hired these coordinators?
The owner and the general manager and the head coach. In that order.
It was a collective group for sure.
Okay. Here's my next question, brother. Why did Doug Peterson leave our organization?
Because he was not allowed to keep, quote, coaches that he wanted to keep.
Right there. You just said. So I just wanted to prove my point to you that it starts from the top. Love Howie Roseman, but the thing is, we're not doing the grocery shopping the right way. And until we fix that problem, it's going to continue to matriculate down going forward. Anyways, that's all. All right,
buddy. Have a great 2024, and we'll look forward to hearing from you, man.
Here's where I slightly disagree with what he's saying a little bit. I think that, there was a collective, triumvirate of Lurie.
Good word, Pat.
It's, I learned some things during the break. Lurie and Roseman and Sirianni that hired these guys for sure. But I also think that it was Howie Roseman who stepped in and said, you got to make a change at DC. Because I think normally what happens in that situation is Sean Desai would have been fired. And I've seen Nick Sirianni cover for these guys all season long, whether it be Desai or whether it be Brian Johnson. He's not very good at covering for
No, he's not.
All right, his reasoning is always horrible. And we saw more of that yesterday when it came for, Hassan Reddick dropping down in coverage. His reasoning is terrible, but he tries to cover for them. And I think that when Howie Roseman came and said, we got to make a change at DC, it was Sirianni who said, all right, let's let this guy save face. Let's let him stay within the organization so he's not fired within his first year of being at DC here and possibly ruin his career. We'll let him do the trophies that you did when Chip Kelly was here. So I think that there was a hiring process, but I also think that same hiring process tried to step in, i.e. Howie Roseman, and rectify the mistake and not keep these guys.
I think it's also naive for anybody to think that Jalen Hurts didn't have a huge voice in Brian Johnson being the OC.
If he didn't have a huge voice, and I don't necessarily know if it was like Jalen Hurts going in and banging on the door.
I don't think he did that.
But I think it's well known the relationship the two had. I don't think it's hard to figure. It's like Jim Thome when Charlie Manuel got hired. Did Jim Thome need to call Ed Wade up and say, hey, Ed, hire Charlie Manuel? No, because it was well known that the two had a great relationship, right? So you hired Charlie Manuel to keep your star happy, and you hired Brian Johnson to keep your $270 million quarterback, whatever it is, happy.
By the way, is a friend of the show who was just at our recent when Angelo Cataldi was here, Father Casey.
Yeah.
Father Casey is he's in intensive care at Bryn Mawr Hospital.
Oh, I'm sorry.
He had a health incident the other day. He is the pastor out at IHM in, I guess, Roxborough. And so prayers and much
my
love
neighborhood.
going out to Ed and to Father Casey, and hopefully he will be back at a live show very, very soon.
Yeah, Bryn Mawr's a great hospital.
It's a great hospital.
Been there a few times.
They
we had our second at Bryn Mawr.
they did my surgery. They my doctors were there. It was a great hospital. It was a fantastic spot. And so take care of Father Casey out there in intensive care. He has got to be the worst patient I could ever imagine. I would imagine the nurses and the doctors are really haggling with him. But we love you, Ed, and we'll look forward to seeing you here.
He wants to feel better. Just watch the video of last year's Eagles season. And just act because I'll tell you, if you listen to us right now, or if you watch the highlights of last week's game, like a sicko like you, who's probably watching the all 22 and rewind, Bob Cooney. I'll tell you what I did. I watched it again. I was just sitting down and I had nothing to do, so I rewatched the game. Yeah, don't do that, Father Casey. Just watch some highlights from last year. You'll feel a lot better.
Well, believe me, that Game 6 and Game 7, which just get glossed over. It's just glossed over. Hey, Mike's going to join us. We have other people on the line that want to get in. Look, there's a lot of angst and frustration going on with the Eagles right now. But the question is, do you think the season as a whole is over? John Kincade Show here on 97.5 The Fanatic.
Fanatic Sports
Hopefully your 2024 is going to be fantastic. I have very high hopes for 2024.
Like, can only go up from here.
No, but I think that we're going to have I think 2024 is going to be a good year. I do not expect financial ruin. In fact, I love to study money markets and things like that.
How we looking?
I believe 2024 is going to be a great year.
I am down $41 so far today.
Okay,
so
I think it's
not great.
Is that on your betting app or is that on something else?
Dude, I've gotten hammered the last month because every game I'm like, Eagles are winning, right? They're going to get out of this.
Yes, double down on that.
Has not been good. No. The market, the stock market, I'm down $41.
Well, you're going to be fine in the long run. So just leave it there and stop.
I better be.
Hey, Wayne McNichol sends in a tweet to both of us. Wayne McNichol. I don't know if he's related to Christie or not. If you don't get the reference, Google it.
It does sound familiar.
Random question. He says, Brian Johnson came from Florida, highly regarded. What did his offense look like there? Not the NFL, but would seemingly point at whether his hands are tied by Sirianni or not. Wayne, first of all, the offense this year doesn't look like the offense last year. So that tells you that the offense last year was being run by a man who understood what he was doing in Shane Steichen, who, by the way, since week 3 has had to be running with Minshew Mania, and if he wins on Sunday, he's in the playoffs. That's coach of the year type stuff. And so the offense doesn't look the same. So already you know there's a difference. But Brian Johnson's offense at Florida, here's the deal at Florida. 9 out of the 12 games on his schedule, his team was superior physically, talent-wise, to every team they faced. Maybe 3 games. Maybe if they played Alabama, if they played Georgia, if they played, So when you dominate in the SEC, you dominate at one of these power schools, it doesn't really show what you got because you got all the greatest toys. And by the way, he's got them here, Pat.
Yeah.
And he doesn't use them.
That's my big issue is, a lot of the Brian Johnson truthers will point to, well, if you look at the points per game, the offense is blah, blah, blah. And I don't necessarily think that the offense lost on Sunday. It didn't. The defense couldn't.
Well, 24 points is not enough.
The defense couldn't stop me and you on Sunday. And you're right. 24 points isn't.
Against Arizona.
24 points isn't, but they didn't have the ball enough times to really do anything with it. But I don't look at it like that lost them the game. I think the defense lost on Sunday, but I do think that when crunch time happened, that we saw Brian Johnson revert back to a very vanilla, bland, predictable offense.
Yep.
And it's funny because most of the season, a lot of his defenders were saying he was great at situational football.
Really?
Well, not so much anymore.
No,
really?
He's not. And when you look at the stats of like points per game, while they're statistically okay, when you take a step back, you go, okay, well, yeah, you should be. Right? Your offense is loaded. You've got arguably the best offensive line in football. You've got an MVP candidate in Jalen Hurts, who was the MVP favorite last month. You've got a running back in DeAndre Swift, who you've yet to really utilize fully, but can catch the ball out of the backfield. He's a 1,000-yard runner this season, so you didn't really have that big of a drop-off. You've got your wide receiver core. Like, your offense is absolutely loaded. You should be putting up a lot of points per game.
You should.
And I've said it for a while now. I think they're doing it like they're putting up these points despite the fact that the play calls have been so bad.
I think it's fair. Look, Andrew in Phoenixville believes it. Andrew, good morning. You're on the Fanatic.
Good morning, gentlemen. How are you?
What's up, Andrew?
Happy New Year.
I will see you guys next Sunday at Beastone Bridge.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah,
You guys have been doing the pregame
show there. Yeah.
All right. Bob said that you owe me a beer, Pat. So,
I do not.
Okay.
Good try.
I'm concerned about this game. I really am, because I don't have really much confidence in the offensive coordinator, defensive coordinator. It seems like everybody's just exhausted on the defensive line. I mean, they can't get any pressure at all. If you look at the sacks, we have, 40 sacks versus 70 last year. And maybe it's the coordinators, maybe it's not, but it just seems like everybody's exhausted from this season. They aren't trying hard enough, or maybe they're just trying too hard and not getting to the quarterback. A lot of people on Facebook are like, "Oh, don't worry, we'll push all the right buttons in the playoffs."
I thought that. I've been saying that for a couple of weeks, and I feel foolish about it. Like, I thought they'd come back. I didn't know about it getting to the Super Bowl, but I thought that they'd start pushing the right buttons too.
Yeah, and someone was comparing this team to the Giants when years ago they were 9-7, and they pushed all the right buttons and they won the Super Bowl. But I'm like, hey, this is a different era. These are different coordinators than we had last year. I don't know what to expect next Sunday. I would like a win, but I'm holding my breath based on what I've seen in the last 4 weeks.
I'd be okay with them taking a week off, Andrew. I honestly would be okay saying
I would not
take the 5 seed. They're not. I don't think it's going to change anything.
So if they win,
why do it?
What's I'm saying? I don't think it's going to change anything. Beating the Giants, who, by the way, are going to rest some people too.
I mean, but you can't do that and then have Dallas go out there and possibly lose. Then what does that look like?
If Dallas loses to, I
don't think they do either, but you never know. I mean, I didn't expect the Eagles to lose to Arizona.
No question.
I didn't expect Dallas to lose to Arizona. So
I got you.
That's why I understand your thought process with that, but you still have to do it. If there's a chance that you get the number 2 seed, then you have to do it.
To me, I really do believe if they go to Tampa, I do believe they would win.
Yeah, me too. I'm not worried about Tampa. But the way that this team is playing, I should be worried about Tampa. I should be worried about anybody.
There is one thing you may not like about it, though. And the 4-5, if they are in the 5 seed, one of the 4-5 games is the ESPN Monday night wildcard game. And I think they would put the Eagles in the wildcard game. Aikman, Buck, the defending NFC champions.
They've been messing with our schedule all year. Why not give us another short week?
I have a feeling,
right?
and I have a feeling with the ratings grab of that, because the 4-5 game in the other conference is probably going to be Jacksonville versus Cleveland.
I think it's so unfair to have a Monday night game in the playoffs.
I think it is. I think it sucks. But there's a really good chance the Eagles will be playing in that game, and Vince Rizzuto will be pulling his hair out. Like, seriously? We got to run this? Because I guarantee you,
maybe
they'll
that's
run a great trip.
Maybe that's the Eagles' goal, is to play so poorly that they don't want that Monday night matchup.
Pat Egan has a great question about ranking teams.
Okay, sure.
But we're going to get to that coming up after the top of the hour. Mike joins us. Mike, good morning. You're on the Fanatic.
Hey, guys. How you doing this morning?
Happy New Year, buddy.
It's so heartbreaking to watch this team, but I'll tell you the truth. At some point, these players got to be held accountable. I mean, we got superstars on defense in BG and Fletch Cox that have been here through multiple regimes. We have Lane and Kelsey, who are going to go down as right up there with Brian Dawkins as best Eagles ever, not only as fan favorites, but as talented guys. And these guys have got to be able to walk in. If you guys are unhappy at work and nobody's calling your show and you're not selling commercial space, I would think that you guys could go into your bosses and say, hey, man, we got to change things up. We got to make this show.
And, Mike, this is exactly how I started the show today. You just mentioned the 4 players. Where's Kelsey? Where's Johnson? Where's Cox? Where's Graham? Where are the veteran leaders on this team to get this thing on the right track? They got to take control.
Yeah, these guys are they've earned their right to stand up and question what's going on. And even a new guy like Julio, I mean, these guys are older than the coaches.
Yeah, they came here for a reason, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, yes. But the one thing that blows my mind, too, is, I get it. We're beating up Brian Johnson. I think one of the things, like as a observer, I've never played the game or coached the game, but I've been a fan. We've had our season tickets for 60-something years. And it just – I look at AJ was going off, and he was breaking records, and the offense was flying. And there's only 3 teams in the AFC and 3 teams in the NFC that have scored more points than us. But we only have a plus 22 in point differential with 11 wins. That's unheard of.
Yeah,
the defense and wheels have come off. But the thing that scares me is when things were flying and Goddard got hurt, it seemed to me like that's kind of when, in that game span, is kind of when the offense changed, became a little more vanilla. And I don't think they've realized and can look in the rearview mirror and realize how much better they were spreading the ball around and how much more balanced they were back then. It doesn't take that much to look in the rearview mirror. It was only like week 10 when he got hurt against the Cowboys. So I don't understand how we can't just go, what was going on when granted, we lost to the Jets, but if you look at the Jets game and the Seahawks game, this team should be 13 wins right now.
Well, yeah, and then, but there are other ones that, thanks for your call, and Happy New Year to you. There are other games, though, you could also say, man, they could have lost that one.
There haven't been many games this year that my anxiety level has not been quite high. And I didn't expect that going in. I mean,
no, you didn't.
You look at it, and most of the games this season have been, the first game of the season.
That Patriots
Mac
game.
Jones?
Yes.
And you're like a toe tap away from losing the first game of the season. And really, the first game of the season perfectly set up how this season has gone. Because they were up 16-0. They're rolling. It looks like it's going to be a 35-0 Marcus Mariota start warming up in the third quarter route. And what happens? Defense gives up 14 straight points, and now we're in a dogfight. And that perfectly summed up how this entire season would go, where they would get up, and then the defense would blow it. Sucks.
Hey, it does. The 8 o'clock hour, the John Kincade Show. Glad you're here with us as we start out 2024. Pat, you want to go down a little bit of history here.
I don't like it.
You don't like it, but it's
I'll go down it. So,
this
we had an
is Pat's point of view.
You've been off a long
Here's
time.
Pat.
Whew, welcome back. Okay, so this season has been frustrating to say the least. And it's amazing because they're 11 and whatever.
Yes.
11 and 4 at this point, and 11 and 5.
11 and 5.
4 5. I lost track of all the losses, but frustrating. All right. Now, this isn't the only frustrating season that we've had, but I want you to rank these 4 frustrating seasons. And I put these teams in there because each of these teams had high expectations.
They did.
All right. So you've got this year's Eagles team.
Okay, 2023 Eagles.
You've got the 2018 Eagles team, the team post-Super Bowl.
Okay.
You've got the Dream Team.
Which is 2011?
Yeah, that sounds about
2011
right.
Eagles.
2011, 2012. And then you've got the 2005 Eagles.
Oh, after the Super Bowl.
Yeah, the year after they went to the Super Bowl, lost, and they had all the TO drama.
Okay.
Which was the most enjoyable? Which was the least enjoyable? So rank them.
20.
The highest is the most
Brendan,
enjoyable.
You keep quiet, Brendan, and then see if we have the same answer. I'm going most enjoyable, 2018 Eagles, and I don't even hesitate to say that they were the most enjoyable.
Okay.
I would say that the wow, that's really hard.
It's tough
because the Eagles Dream Team season disgusted me. I would say 2005 Eagles because post Super Bowl, even though they finished 6-10, I think.
Yeah,
the wheels fell off.
Yeah, and then
at that point,
McNabb gets injured week 1.
I think that the 2011 Eagles Dream Team is the worst. So my list would be 2018 1, 2005 2, 2023 3. This is an aggravating year, and the 2011 Dream Team the worst for me.
All right, Brandon, what do you got?
4.
So I kind of had almost the same order. There's the major one that's the most least enjoyable. So 18 the best. I mean, that was still a fun team to watch. Nick Foles comes in.
And they
almost
lost
gets
in
us
the
back to a
divisional
Super
round.
Bowl.
Right.
2005, McNabb got hurt week 1, so all my expectations kind of went out the window. So it's hard to say it was frustrating or not that enjoyable. Then the Dream Team, that kind of just went to the wayside really quick, and you realize, okay, Nnamdi can't play. These guys can't play. I have not came to that realization with this team, this year's team yet, so that's why it's the least enjoyable, least fun, the most just excruciating watch out of all 4 of those teams, because I have not come to the conclusion that this team should be playing this well. I mean, this poorly, right? Like they should be at the top of the league still, and I know what the record says and all that, but they're just not fun to watch. Those other teams, I could kind of, figure out in my head, okay, they don't have it. This team, I don't know why they don't have it. They just don't.
Yeah, and the coaches don't either.
Well, here's the thing. So all 4 of these teams, I'll just say it, like they weren't fun to watch. None of them. The 2018 team was the most enjoyable because they did have that run to get into the playoffs. It ends unfortunately with the interception against the Saints, but that was probably the most fun because it came down to the wire. And this team very well, we could be laughing about this topic in a month or two, but I think this team is the least enjoyable to watch because with the Dream Team, I was excited at least at the thought of they're going to be bad. So I'm interested in the draft picks. I'm a big hey, if you're going to be bad, be real bad.
I am absolutely the same way.
And I was also excited to see what life would hold post Andy Reid. If you remember, that was
yep.
Jeffrey Lurie had the awkwardness of coming out and saying if it doesn't work, he's out. So I was excited to see what the next chapter would be for Eagles football. 2005 team, I would say, is the second least enjoyable because they had all the drama with T.O., and then Donovan McNabb gets injured, and T.O. gets kicked off the team and all that. But same thing, it was draft picks. This team it's like the talent is there. And a lot of these teams obviously had talent, but the talent is there. And the wins are also there. I mean, I think on the surface, if you just say, okay, they're going to be 11-5, it's possibility of 12-5. Most fans before the season go, okay, yeah, whatever, fine. But it's the way it's happened, which has led for me to go, this is probably the least enjoyable team. And a lot of this is probably recency bias on my part, but I haven't enjoyed watching this team play football for 80%, 85% of this season.
It's This is an excruciating watch.
Because as I laid out with the New England game, which really prefaced the entire season and laid out how the season would play out, it's like even when they do jump out to a large lead, and we saw it on Sunday, they can't hold it. They never can seem to hold a large lead where you're comfortably able to sit back and just kick back and enjoy the game and have a Lego game, you know?
Yeah, we haven't had Lego games.
We haven't had it.
We haven't had one Lego game.
No, it's like the defense will give it up, or and the offense, or they can't get going and they just get hammered. It's been by hook or by crook, this team is letting you down every week, and I haven't enjoyed watching this team play football, which is amazing to me, because as I sit back as an Eagles fan, I go like, man, normally 11-5.
Yeah, and you think of all the achievements this team has had. It's going to be the first team in Eagles history. 2,000 yards receivers, 1,000-yard rusher, 4,000-yard passer. A.J. Brown was on track to beat the all-time yards and receptions in the same season. Brandon Graham became the Eagle with the most games played ever, and it's just not fun at all.
Yeah, I haven't enjoyed, and that's the most amazing thing is I sit back and I go, are you being a whiny baby about it? Because there are 11-5, and I know the recent stretch is bad, but it hasn't been all doom and gloom. We're probably sitting there acting like it is. But then I go, no, I don't think I am, because the games that they've won have been anxiety-ridden. I mean, we're talking, overtime against the Commanders and losing to the Jets.
The Bills overtime game.
Yeah.
Which was crazy.
The Minnesota game, which ended up becoming a 7-point game, but it wasn't that close, but it ended up becoming a 7-point game. The New England game, it's like, none of these games have been all that enjoyable to watch. Miami was probably the one game where I go, like, that was enjoyable to watch.
And even though that game was 14-14.
Yeah. And then
in the second half,
the Eagles took care of it.
The Eagles took care of business. Other than that, it's like, you're losing to Drew Lock, and I'm not having fun.
Yeah, I never went to bed smiling after, any of these wins this year.
I was, shaking after something.
No, I mean, 4 weeks in, you're going, like, all right, okay, you're out of the whole, you didn't have a preseason, so this is your preseason.
And did last season's high kind of make this season that much more hard to watch?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Your expectations going into this season have led to the miserableness of this season.
Yeah, every win last year, it felt like it was by 3 touchdowns, and you're laughing at your opponent the whole second half.
I have never been more confident in, I don't think, a Philadelphia team than I was in last year's Eagles team. Because it was
it was great.
Every game you're going, we're going to hammer this team. It's going to be fun to watch, and we'll get the starters out of there with 6 minutes to go in the fourth quarter. I mean, the 2011 Phillies are probably the closest thing, where it was like a coronation to
where you just believed it was going to be.
Yeah, the playoffs. I mean, it was like in last year's Eagles team when you finally realized, oh crap, this team is good. It was a blast.
I like that exercise.
I don't.
No, I like the exercise we just did, though, there mentally.
I don't like it.
All right, I want to give you something. I decided to go flyer it up this morning.
I see that. Yeah,
I got flyered up this morning.
Burnt oranged up.
I did my burnt orange this morning, and I want to ask this is because the season now is at 36-game mark. They're almost at the half. Next week, they will be at the halfway point of the season. And I want to ask, gut instinct, is this just a cute story? Or is this something that is going to materialize into being something in the spring that can energize this town and lift it up? I will tell you one thing. I've been assured, and hopefully we're going to have a Flyers guest on Friday at our live show. You can go to 975thefanatic.com, by the way. If you want to come to the live show on Friday, we would love to see you. So get yourself in and get yourself registered.
Stop on by.
We will do our first Friday show brought to you by David Dodge.
And the breakfast.
Oh, breakfast.
Breakfast is going to be phenomenal.
It's going to be awesome.
Phenomenal this week.
Outstanding.
Yeah,
that's
you definitely. I mean, don't come for me and don't come for John.
No,
you come for Bob. Bob's cool.
You can come for Bob.
But if you're still in doubt, the breakfast is going to be really, really strong.
Hey, I was told this, and I think we will have somebody on the air that will share this point of view too. The Flyers are 100%. No matter what happens, sticking to the rebuild plan. no matter where they're sitting, come trade deadline time and everything, they are sticking to the plan that this is a rebuilding from the ground up, do it the right way. Hopefully they get Cutter Gauthier in here at the end of the year for some games and some experience.
Pro tryout.
But they are not going to go out and be buyers.
Yeah, they shouldn't.
And by the way, the Johnny Gaudreau stuff, could we please stop? Could we please? People like, we had it yesterday. We had one. It's, I hear the Flyers could go get Johnny Gaudreau. Would you stop? Seriously, could we stop with the Johnny Gaudreau stuff? First of all, he's not a young player.
What do they want?
He's not a young player.
What do they want?
You're rebuilding. You don't want a guy. You're not looking. You're looking for young talent that can build up. And the Flyers are not in that business. They're trying to build this thing the right way. And I've been assured that no matter what happens, they will not vary from this plan.
I might take a look at Gaudreau. What do they want?
They're not going to go with Gaudreau. So it's
I don't think so either.
You don't go with an older player. It's not
he's 30.
He'll be 31 by the end of the year, right?
Yeah, he can still play. I'm not poo-pooing. Talking about this is like saying, let's talk about me and you dating Margot Robbie. Like, it's never going to happen. I mean, Gaudreau's signed to a huge contract, but no, they shouldn't do any moves at the deadline. Now, I know if Chuck Fletcher's listening, he thinks that's the most idiotic thing in the world because Chuck Fletcher loved to give up assets when his team wasn't good enough. But great story with the Flyers, and they're playing, I think,
tonight
above what anyone thought they were going to do. I would say if you gave the organization true serum, if you gave Jonesy and you gave Danny Briere true serum, they're playing above what they thought they were going to do.
Would you consider selling?
Yeah.
I would too.
Yeah, absolutely.
I absolutely would. And
if someone's calling on
it's like, would you on one of the big names?
Depends. Depends what the.
Well, I mean, like to me, I would have no problem partying with the Cam Atkinson.
Oh,
none.
yeah.
If somebody wanted him, a veteran team wanted to bring him in.
I have to look at the cap situation and see who's on an expiring contract.
What about Coots?
Coots is different. You don't get guys up the middle like him very often.
Exactly.
He's a little bit older, but I mean, he's still.
Calls,
no, I'm probably not trading Couturier.
I don't think I would either.
I'm probably not trading him.
I'd be no on him. I'd be okay on Atkinson.
No, but like a Ryan Poling, you signed him, and he's when they signed him, I brought this up, but every NHL team is looking for bottom six talent come the deadline, and they gave up a lot of times. They give up top level draft pick assets to get that bottom six talent because they negated it with the cap situation and signing guys. So to get a veteran, especially a guy that will play center, and you can slide him into your fourth line is very important because you need four lines to win in the Stanley Cup playoffs. So I would absolutely give, and I would expect like a Ryan Poling to go.
So
if they were to trade, I would expect Poling to go. I got to look at the cap situation to see if Atkinson's in his last year. I think he might be actually, but he's an interesting name too. Yeah, and if they get offered.
Just a draft pick.
Second round pick, then I would say Cam Atkinson's probably leaving.
By the way, Larry is very kind. He goes, "It's great to see you guys back. Happy New Year and everything." And he goes, "JK, what's with the hair?"
Yeah, a little wild today, bud. I wasn't going to say anything, but a little wild.
My hair is out of control. My hair is not growing back the way that it was. It's growing back soft. It's growing back
fluffy,
curly. My hair's got curls in it, which it hasn't had since I was a teenager. And it's like my hair is out, like it's completely different than my hair.
Just hit him with a new year, new me, bud.
So I appreciate it. Larry goes, "What is it?" He goes, "I wish I had that hair." He says, "I unfortunately do not at the age of 54. I am rather sparse." He goes, "But it's wild." He goes, "I want to see where this thing goes." He said, and he did give me the, he said, "You said it once before. Maybe you go Sons of Anarchy on us."
Please don't.
And let it grow long.
Please don't.
I don't know.
Cam Atkinson has one more year on his contract, so he won't be leaving.
He won't be leaving.
No.
All right, we've got more from Nick Sirianni. Does he regret some of the moves that he's made? We'll get to some of those questions next. John Kincade Show here on 97.5 Or Pat getting a hug. And when HR shows up, it just makes Pat gets the sweats a little bit, but it was great to see Stacy there. So, look, there's a lot of angst going on around the Eagles right now. And I don't like doing a radio show that is a bash fest. I like to have it where it's like you still try to find some sort of energy where you still have some positivity to it. The best I can muster is I do believe this team will beat the NFC South champion in a wild card game. That's the best I can muster. And I do not believe, like a gentleman says here, he's best case scenario, win the wild card game, go to Dallas and ruin their season. Oh, yeah, that would be that would be awesome. Delicious. I don't think it's happening. And I do believe this season Dallas is a superior team and their coaching staff is doing a superior job.
I think that's the big thing. I think for me,
and that sucks for me.
They have a better coaching staff.
And it sucks for me to say it, though. I hate saying it.
I didn't expect to be here. I'm having fun. I really thought that I'd be coming back and we'd be talking about, a boring win that we didn't really take anything out of because they beat a bad opponent and looking ahead to, another bad opponent. And, no. For our job, it's good. It's drama-laden. And
yeah, it gives you, but it's not good.
But as a fan, me and you were fans.
You don't feel good about it. No.
Yeah, and I don't know any Eagles fan that has been feeling good lately, which I think is the big surprise. And this team has talked about repeatedly peaking at the right time and fixing it and getting it right. But at this point, it's been nothing but words. There's been no action.
No, there's been no action.
And when there's no actions behind those words, then it's just emptiness.
Nick Sirianni was asked emptiness. That sounds very dramatic, but it's the truth. It feels that way.
Just hollow words.
Nick Sirianni was asked, why can't this team hold leads? Listen to this answer.
When you're up 10 and you get into 4 minutes, completely different being up 10 in 4 minutes or, one possession in 4 minutes. So something's went there in that to get to that has went there to where the lead has eaten back up. But yeah, to have that lead, in that many games and, winning 6 of them, losing 3 of them, obviously those 3 that you lose are always going to stick in your mind and you're going to evaluate everything. And like I said, those are my evaluations without, watching all of them today. My evaluation is that of myself.
Okay. That is the biggest bunch of gobbledygook. What did he say there? Can anybody decipher that? That sounded like the kid who is asked in an oral report to get up or gets asked a question and they didn't do their homework and they just mumbled through something. That made no sense. Anything that he said. Well, when you're up 10 and you want to, whether it's 4 minutes or whether he just stumbled all over himself. It's that was an embarrassing answer. And it doesn't give me any.
No.
It doesn't give me any confidence.
Now that I think about it, him making no sense at all makes all the sense in the world because that's all I need to know. Because there's no reason or no explanation why this team shouldn't be able to hold on to leads. It makes no sense.
Here's what I'd say to you then, though. Then are you committed to Nick Sirianni going forward?
Oh, boy.
Because do you try? The man is showing us right now that he has no answers on how to fix anything. And he has all of the talent on the offensive side of the ball. He's supposed to be an offensive coach. So do you have faith in him? Do you have faith in him moving forward? I'm not coming on here going, fire Nick Sirianni. Nick Sirianni should be fired. But guess what? If they lose to the Giants and they lose a wild card game, I may be saying, you know what, that doesn't make any sense.
Well, let me read to you. I'm just making sure it's on the paper. What we had in our what I sent yesterday.
Yes,
was this exact sentence for topics because for people that aren't aware, we send topics and then we make the show sheet about what we're going to talk about for that day. If the Eagles don't win a playoff game, what do you do about Sirianni? Sunday's game was the first time I had zero faith in him as head coach, and I just feel like he's been doing this via smoke and mirrors. So, yeah, I've had that impure thought about
smoke and mirrors. Now, are you saying, you believe last year was smoke and mirrors?
I believe last year the smoke and the mirrors were Jonathan Gannon and Shane Steichen.
Okay.
And he's been doing this with an incredible roster, and he has been doing this with incredible pieces around him. But it's kind of like, Ringo Starr coming up with an album. Okay, that's fine. You can do that, but I'm pretty sure it was the John Lennon guy and
right.
That other guy, the third guy, and I think you were the fourth guy. So like I think that Sirianni has done this with an unbelievable staff up until this point that have covered his deficiencies as head coach. Winning cures all. They won a lot, so nobody really batted an eye at the sayings he would do and the trees and growing plants and stuff and the competitive nature of rock, paper, scissors. People just went, okay, it's fine. But when they start losing and you don't have an answer on how to fix it and you don't have an answer on how to be creative mind with the offense when you're an offensive-minded head coach, I'm going to have questions whether you're the guy or not.
Okay.
I'm definitely going to have questions whether you're the guy or not. And for people that might...
And I think that's... And there's nothing... That is not a hot take.
I would hope not.
That's not like, oh, Pat's trying to just fire people over. That's very much right now. If you're not thinking, at least that impure thought hasn't crossed your mind, it should have.
Yeah, and I know we got a couple people online, but like at this point, I'm not saying to fire him. And I know some people will absolutely roll their eyes at the idea of firing Nick Sirianni because of his record. Chip Kelly had a great record.
Kelly had 10-6, and then the last year it sort of
he was 10-6,
terrible.
10-6, 6-9, and then his last year in San Francisco was 2-14. But for the Eagles,
he wasn't bad.
He was 26-11,
right,
and he got fired. So there's more to do about the coaching situation than just record. So I'm not saying fire Nick Sirianni, but if they fail to kind of get this right, and it looks like they won't, you got to at least have an uncomfortable conversation.
Well, that's what we're all about, uncomfortable conversations. Hey, Cole has joined us. Cole, good morning and Happy New Year.
Hey, Happy New Year, John. How are you?
We've been better, but we're glad to be starting out 2024.
Yeah, I hear that. Yeah, quickly, my wife's on her third cancer diagnosis, and her hair grew back curly. It was beautiful and continues to be. She's still running through the cancer gamut.
How's she doing? Is she doing all right, though? I'll send some prayers her way.
Yeah, thank you. She's doing well. Well. And, thanks for giving us a heads up on Father Ed, was it?
Yeah, Father Ed, yes. He got to be back to a live show soon.
Yeah, sending prayers his way.
Thanks, buddy.
Yeah, I in the Sirianni camp, I'm wondering, is he going to be the fall guy, or is he going to take back the play calling to make some sort of move? I know Laurie wants to win, and he's going to do it whatever it takes to win. So is it going to be somebody's head before Sirianni's?
I don't know if, and I appreciate you calling. Happy New Year, and tell your wife we're thinking of her. I don't know that right now. Here's the one premise that I don't agree with there with Cole. I don't think Nick Sirianni would be the fall guy if this collapse happens and they decided to move on from him. I don't think I could call him the fall guy because he's responsible.
Yeah.
He's responsible for getting this fixed.
Yeah, unfortunately he is. He look, the guy so far has had no answers as to how to fix a vanilla bland offense and a defense that right now couldn't stop you, me, and Brendan. He has no answers. And it's becoming more and more that game ends, I get annoyed. Whether they win or lose at this point, I'm annoyed. Because of either how they won, it wasn't up to my liking, or they lost and I'm just pissed off. And then about an hour and a half later, I start seeing the tweets come in from the beat writers about what Nick Sirianni said. And I start screaming at my phone, what is it you do here? I become the guy from Office Space.
Right, exactly.
Like, what is it you do here?
What is it exactly you do?
Because I hear the same stuff from you every week, and you don't have an answer. And it's just the same crap with no results behind it. I don't know what to tell you. Like, you got to have that uncomfortable conversation of, like, were you just doing this with a great roster and you hired great coordinators, and then when it came time to replace those guys, you failed miserably?
Well, you've led me right into where I wanted to go, and it leads into something that you put on your notes for the show today. Nick Sirianni was asked yesterday, do you regret making Matt Patricia now calling the plays?
No, I don't. Again, everything that I do, every decision that I make is with the thought of the team first and what is best for the team. The adjustments that I made a couple weeks ago were in attempts to do what was best for the team. And I still believe that. We made some adjustments, and we're, again, coming off of a game like that, no one's going to be satisfied about anything that happened. And so, but I do believe in the guys that we have on the field. I do believe in the guys that we have, in the defensive coaches. And so, no, again, just every decision I'm trying to make is what's best for the team. And I believe that adjustment was necessary and where we are right now.
That tells me that the players wanted Sean Desai out. That's how I read that.
I kind of read that when the report came out about the players wanting to do their own game plan. It didn't look good.
Now, the thing is, though, when you're talking about the blame game with Matt Patricia, you had an interesting thought.
Yeah, it's tough for me to blame Matt Patricia regarding anything, really, this season, because he can't fully integrate what he wants to do on defense in the middle of a season.
That's fair.
He really just the only thing he can do is tinker. He can tinker a little bit here and there, and he can move some things around and basically figure out when he wants to send blitz and stuff. But in terms of the actual scheme that he wants to run, he's handcuffed by what Sean Desai did. Because Sean Desai gets moved out of there in week, 13 or 14 or whatever it was, and he has to step in. You can't start an entire new defense because it's going to be too much for these guys, and you're going to have a bigger disaster. So I can't really necessarily blame Matt Patricia because he's been put in this spot. But what's become clear to me is they need a new OC in DC next year.
They absolutely cannot come back with this.
They can't come back with Brian Johnson, and they probably can't come back with Matt Patricia. Now, my fear is they'll come back with both. That's the worst fear.
Don't scare me.
I think what's going to end up happening is they'll come back with Matt Patricia as DC. They'll see how it goes if he gets to integrate his actual defense. But in terms of the OC, that's up for debate. And I think that there's probably going to be a change there. That would be my gut instinct because it just has not worked out. I initially thought when the team was rolling that, the team will, get to the NFC Championship game like we all thought they were going to. And when they get there, it'll pretty much clinch the fact that Brian Johnson won't be back because he'll be hired away by somebody. He'll be some team's head coach. They'll get enamored with the fact that, he made Jalen Hurts a $270 million quarterback, whatever the contract is.
Nobody's calling for him this year.
But right now, with the team scuttling the way they are, no one's calling for him. I don't know what happens there. My gut would be that, they'll probably bring in a vet. But it's really tough for me to blame Matt Patricia regarding just about anything with the DC. And by the way, I'm somebody who does not like Matt Patricia.
No, I understand that.
Yeah,
you don't like the pencil and
it's not like I'm coming in here just being like, all right, I'm Matt Patricia fanboy. Like, I don't really like him.
No.
I always thought he was overrated. But I'm giving him the benefit of the doubt, at least for these next couple of games, because he's handcuffed by what Sean Desai wanted to implement. Look, him dropping Hassan Reddick back in coverage was dumb.
We're going to hear that soundbite here. I want you to hear Nick Sirianni talking about the use of Hassan Reddick, and hear what he has to say about it, because it's another gross answer from yesterday. Listen,
again, you're trying to not be predictable in different fronts that you're in. I know when we see somebody that's predictable in anything, right, that we try to take advantage of that. And so you're trying not to be predictable. But hey, we know he gets paid to rush the passer, and he's really good at it. But again, if the predictability, quarterback's going to get it out even quicker if he knows exactly what's happening.
What?
Well, seriously. Okay, you're trying to be unpredictable. You know why? Because anybody that sees you dropping Hassan Reddick into coverage is saying, thank you. You're making him do something that he's not as good at as he is at terrorizing my quarterback. So we love you for this. This is crazy talk to me. It's crazy. And you putting on the hoodie, it's starting to get to you.
It's the sound of me beating my head against a microphone. What is he talking about? So we're going to drop him back in coverage to be less predictable. Because if the quarterback knows he's coming, then he gets the ball out quicker. Well, that wasn't the case last year when he had 16 sacks. Reggie White was pretty damn predictable.
Yes, he was
really predictable. Like, what are we doing now? So we don't want to be predictable. And I tweeted this out. Are you going to have Jake Elliott start covering DBs? Because it's very predictable when Jake Elliott comes in what he's doing. He's just kicking the ball. so we don't want to be predictable. That is the dumbest crap I've heard. And this is a prime example of what I was talking about earlier in the show when I said he tries to cover for these guys, but he does so in a way that is just dumb.
He's not good at it.
Since when do they have a problem with predictability? Look at the offense. Look at the offense. Every play's going to be a quarterback draw or a bubble screen.
Yeah, it is.
That was, out of all the quotes that he has had this entire season, that is the one that has gotten my goat the most. Like, that is the one that just had me, just banging my head. Wait, so you don't want to be predictable with the guy that you're paying to rush the quarterback? That makes zero sense.
Yeah, there's too much not making sense. Ricky in North Jersey joins us. Ricky, good morning and Happy New Year.
Good morning, gentlemen. Happy New Year. I apologize I didn't call after the game yesterday because
I understand.
if I would have called, you would have sent me to the crisis unit in a padded wall.
Ricky, I didn't come into work yesterday because of that game, so don't worry about it.
Oh, it's ridiculous. And let me tell you something. I know a couple weeks. Listen, you know I've been calling every week.
Yes.
You know that we've been saying about, I was happy with the Deshaun Desai. But we already knew on the defensive line what we had. What we should have done is got rid of Brian Johnson. And you know what? Nick Sirianni needs to have these uncomfortable conversations and say, what are you doing? But you know what also? Howie Roseman needs to have a really stern talk with Nick Sirianni because the offense right now, they look like they've shut down. You look at their faces, they're disgusted. A.J. Brown doesn't want to speak to the media. Devontae Smith, who's quiet as a mouse, now is speaking up. Listen, I don't even know where we're going in the playoffs, but this is terrible. This is really, really bad. When you have one of the most prolific offenses in the league, and this is the kind we were winning 21-6. We had 47 offensive plays. They had 72, almost double. I don't understand why Nick Sirianni doesn't get in Brian Johnson. You got to have this uncomfortable conversation and say, listen, your offense stinks.
Here's the thing is why he can't have that conversation, Ricky. Happy New Year to you. I believe he can't have the conversation because he doesn't have an answer himself. So if you're going to call somebody else out and then you don't have an answer, that you don't have a way to fix it, you're not going to call them out because then they're going to continue to take the bullets.
Yeah.
And you're not.
I mean, Ricky, we've seen this guy be the OC basically and call the plays for 7 weeks. It was in his first year as Eagles head coach. They were a disaster.
Absolute disaster.
So I don't have any faith that Nick Sirianni knows what he's doing offensively and defensively because he was hired as an offensive coordinator from the Colts and he was brought here. And when I saw him run an Eagles offense, it wasn't good. And
no, it was awful.
If he's taking over the reins now and if he is calling plays or whatever, either way, he's either not stepping in because he doesn't have a clue, which isn't good, or he has stepped in and he still doesn't have a clue. Both options are bad, but I don't have any faith that this guy knows how to stop this train from continuing to go off the tracks.
I don't know why I'm chuckling.
Because it keeps you from crying.
Well, it might be because I find some of this stuff is striking me funny, and I have no idea why. Because it's nothing fun to watch.
This is a clown show.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, I mean, you literally, you have to laugh at what's going on because it's so ridiculous. Because you know that after you lose to a 3-win Cardinals team, you're getting some stupid crap like, well, we don't want to be predictable. So we're even though we've had a lack of sacks for just about the entire season, we don't want to be predictable, so we're going to drop our best pass rusher in coverage. Where we don't know what he's doing back there, but we're just going to drop him in coverage because we don't want to be predictable.
Hey, what? That's crazy. Father Sean, good morning and Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you, and also a shout-out to my brother, Father Ed.
Yes.
Be praying for quick recovery there.
We need it.
Listen, after that game, I felt like I needed to go to confession 5 times.
It was bad.
Listen,
I mean, it's bad.
Man, I have parishioner friends of mine. I've gone to a game with them, and we're very close. Their daughter was visiting from Chicago, and we were texting back and forth. Like, I said, we should have a podcast or something. I mean, about everything on there and how everything's gone wrong. I think one of the things, too, I totally agree with everything that everybody that you guys are saying, what you just were saying now about Sirianni. It's almost like the veil's been lifted, and it's like this guy's a goofball.
He appeared to be a bit of a goofball from the beginning.
from the very beginning.
But it was like
you were willing to give him a chance.
But we gave him a chance.
And the players were buying in.
A chance, and I think I gave him credit for handing over like the play calls to Steichen his first year and everything.
Me too.
But, I found myself asking the question that Pat was asking about, what does he do? Because here's the thing. It's one thing to say, we're going to fix this, we're going to do this, you're the delegate, you're the CEO guy. But in the end, like, if they're not prepared to play a team that only has 3 wins, then what is it that you are doing? Now, I also, listen, they have veteran players. You mentioned that earlier in the show this morning. They have veteran players.
Yeah, where are they?
But it's like, I don't know if they're just buying. I don't know if they're just like they're not buying into them or they're trying. Maybe they are trying. I don't know.
Here's what I would say, Sean. God bless you, too. Happy New Year. I would say this. If I didn't like my boss.
Well, you don't.
And I'm being paid to come to work and to do my job and to be a professional. Suck it up, Buttercup. Seriously, suck it up.
Didn't you have off last week?
You have to literally.
Got him.
You're a professional.
Yeah.
Go do your job. Take some professional pride and go, man, I don't like my boss, but I'm going to be there on time and working hard. I'm so tired of this whiny attitude.
But to defend him a little bit, and I don't know, but like the defense getting play calls, I doubt they can audible out of it. We don't know, and I brought it up, Jalen Hurts.
Know, right.
We don't know Jalen Hurts if he's able to audible, and it doesn't seem like he does very often. So it probably is pretty frustrating if you're the players when, let's say, a play call comes in, and the bubble screen's a good example. You can't tell me those players are excited to do a 3rd and 19 bubble screen again, especially when it's not going in the hands of a Devontae Smith or even a Quez Watkins, the faster wide receivers that might be able to get upfield. They got to be throwing their hands up like, here we go again.
I'm out on Quez.
Oh, I'm completely
I've been out on him.
Yeah, he didn't have a play.
And I'm glad.
He didn't play. Yeah, and I'm with you.
I'm glad.
You can kick rocks.
It's enough. It's enough. Hey, this coaching staff's taken a lot of critique this morning. But are the players getting a bit of a pass?
Wait, from who?
And is the quarterback getting some pass?
Not from us.
Hey,
just kidding.
610-632-0975. Thanks for being with us. Welcome to 2024, John Kincade Show, 97.5 The Fanatic.
Fanatic Sports Update.
Losing isn't fun. Who knew? I'm Brendan Gunn, and this update is brought to you by Staples Stores. Staples Store provide innovative products and services for small businesses, remote workers, and learners, even
Arlington, Philadelphia, a Beasley Media Group station. Official home of the Sixers, Flyers, Union, and the best Eagles talk in Philadelphia. 97.5, The Fanatic. Now, back to the John Kincade Show on 97.5, The Fanatic, Philadelphia.
As we begin 2024, I didn't expect it to be beginning with turmoil. It certainly is around the Eagles. I know Andrew Salchunas in middays today will have his thoughts on it as he's back amongst the living with us today.
He's back,
which is good. I see Ray
He's
Dunn
animated.
bouncing around.
Yeah, Ray's always got a smile on his face.
Ray's excited to be here, which is good, and so that'll be good.
Even when Ray's in a bad mood, he's smiling. He's one of those guys.
I haven't seen Ray in a bad mood.
I have.
You have?
I've seen him in a bad mood, but he always has like a smile. He does it through a smile.
Good.
Like he'll complain through a smile, which is admirable.
Complain through a smile, which is interesting.
Yeah, like he'll be like, let's say, he'll sit there and go, well, Pat, I'm just enjoying watching the Eagles.
Bad here.
Just enjoying watching the Eagles lose to the Cardinals, Pat.
There is one thing that some people are asking us on Twitter, and I think it is legit, and I know it's something that we all sort of had in our notes. Where's the blame for Howie Roseman? And why is Howie Roseman not getting more blame for what's going on? Harris wants to ask that question. Harris, good morning. You're on The Fanatic.
Hey, John. How's it going?
Happy New Year to you, buddy.
Yeah, Happy New Year. When things go this poorly, I blame Nick Sirianni for not getting more involved, but at a certain point, I think you knew what you were getting with him, because when we hired him, I remember Pat said something like, I don't know, a month ago, and he's like, who the heck is Nick Sirianni, right? So he got this nod from Frank Reich, who we put on a pedestal, which was great, but we all knew that, but people knew that was Nick Sirianni a product of Frank Reich's system, and we had all these questions, but he was a player's coach, so we embraced him because he brought a good culture to Philly, which I think is his strong suit, is culture. But I don't necessarily.
Is it though? Is it working out that way?
Right now, it's not.
Right now,
but I
no.
think it's because it's all to Howie Roseman. Because if you're Howie Roseman, you knew what you were getting with Nick Sirianni, which means that you needed to hire coordinators to make up for what he lacked. And I think that's what didn't happen, is that Brian Johnson is not an offensive guru. He was buddies with Jalen Hurts, so he got the job. That's not who you need. You need somebody who's going to come in and push the offense and have a strategy and have a game plan regardless of what the game throws at you, and let Nick Sirianni handle the culture, handle his gibberish at the press conference that nobody knows what he's talking about, but the players like him. But now Howie Roseman put together a horrible coaching staff, and now it's just,
Well, the only
here we are.
The only thing I'm going to say is this: is if you hire a guy to be the head coach, and the head coach isn't able to he has to be able to oversee his coaching staff.
Yeah. Well,
He's not good at it.
And the question that I need answered, which I'll probably never get answered, is whose decision was it to take the job from Sean Desai? Because if my gut instinct is correct and it was Howie Roseman,
okay,
then that's pretty damning on Nick Sirianni.
It is.
If it was Nick Sirianni, good on him. But the decision to hire Sean Desai was ultimately a horrible one.
Yeah, it was horrible.
And it sets up this defense for the situation that you currently find yourself in. Howie Roseman deserves some blame. I think a large portion of the fan base is hesitant to blame Howie Roseman for anything, because a large portion of the fan base not too long ago was actively trying to get him fired.
I would agree with you.
And it's like, look, I was wrong once. I don't want to fall into the same pit. It's very similar to what the caller called up earlier in our show and brought up how Jalen Hurts is Carson Wentz 2.0. I believed that Carson Wentz was going to be a franchise quarterback. Didn't work out. So I don't want to fall into that same pit and say that Jalen Hurts is going to be a franchise quarterback. It's not going to work out. I believe that it will work out. I don't want to.
You don't want to do it. You don't want to go down that path again.
And I don't want to go down the path of negativity when it comes to Howie Roseman and start clamoring for a guy's job. And not necessarily that you would be doing that, by pointing out that, yeah, there was roster flaws and he didn't do a perfect job. But I think because nowadays our society is so cut and dry, black and white, there is no gray area. If you do end up saying, yeah, the roster construction wasn't great and the coordinators that were hired were bad and it's Howie Roseman's fault, then people will immediately go, oh, so you're just you were the same guy who wanted him fired 4 years ago and it didn't work out and you've always hated him, blah, blah, blah. No, like Howie Roseman's done some really, really good things. Good things. No GM is perfect. Just like no coach is perfect. And with Howie Roseman, this year and the roster construction and whatever hand he had in hiring the coordinators wasn't good.
No.
It's just
not good, and I think that's part of it. Biscuit is with us, the bus driver.
Hey,
Biscuit, Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. How you doing?
I'm doing well. Keep two hands on the wheel, though.
Oh, man, there's no school today.
That's good.
They got us in here doing an in-service.
Yeah, what is up with that? There's no school.
Yeah, why are the kids not
when
back
it's
in
a
school?
Tuesday?
It's a lot of stuff behind the scenes that you got to do for the buses. You got to get certified for a lot of certifications. So
okay.
They do it on these days. But listen, Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
And it's enough blame to go around for everybody. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
Absolutely.
We just don't look good. You know what I mean? If you do the eye test, we just don't look good. You can't tackle. Can't get to the quarterback. You get them. Your linebacker get back there and can't wrap up. I'm just like, you've been playing football since Pop Warner. Now all of a sudden you can't tackle. I mean, they didn't punt the ball not one time.
That was one of the most incredible things to me.
That broke my heart, man. I was just like, my sister Glenda Laddie had to talk me off the bridge, man. I was so mad.
Hey, Happy New Year to you.
Happy New Year to you.
I'm struggling because I really don't want a month of this sucks.
No,
I'm trying to find something that we could at least hook our wagons to have some sort of level of faith.
Yeah, I mean, normally on Tuesdays, that's the day that I come back down to earth a little bit, and I cool down, and I'm not as reactive. I'm still pissed.
Well, you didn't work yesterday though, because maybe you didn't have the catharsis of
still pissed.
going through it.
Like it had nothing to do with that. I had a chill day yesterday and hung out with my oldest, but still, every time I thought about the Eagles and thought about doing show prep, I got pissed. Like there wasn't it's not that bad. This happened, that happened. Okay, there are some good things. Maybe we can explain this. Maybe we can explain that. No, it was actually amplified when I saw Nick Sirianni's presser.
Yes.
Like it actually got me even more angry because the guy just doesn't have answers, and the ones that he does give are so dumb.
It's gobbledygook.
They're so, ass backwards that you're like scratching your head going, dude, if you honestly believe this, you should be fired now.
Like the whole thing with Hassan Reddick that we played for you last hour. I yelled at my radio.
Me too.
I yelled. I
was pissed.
What are you talking about?
Well, and also, the communications department of the Eagles, how do you not prep the guy? You can read the Twitter accounts of the Eagles beat writers and their reactions. So you kind of know what's going to be asked.
Yes.
Now, maybe to the credit, I don't know. Maybe the communications department is prepping Nick Sirianni, and these are just his answers.
And maybe he doesn't listen.
Right? Maybe he just doesn't get it, and he's just bad at this. But if these are his answers to questions that are being put up there on Twitter hours, days sometimes, before the press conference takes place, and these are the answers he's given, I'm just banging my head at that point against a brick wall. Because if that's your answer, we don't want to be predictable with Hassan Reddick. Because if you're predictable and the quarterback knows what he's doing, then he gets the ball out faster. But the quarterback tried to get the ball out as fast as possible last year. Just like they've done since the beginning of the forward pass. You try to get the ball out as fast as possible so you don't get hit. And you know what happened? The quarterback got hit a lot. Got hit 70 times.
Your Reggie White line was great.
Reggie
White was the most predictable player maybe in Eagles history. And he just terrorized quarterbacks.
Yeah, I saw Michael Strahan drop back in coverage a ton.
Yeah,
now, the defense would be like, okay, Hassan Reddick's a linebacker. Stop. Hassan Reddick is a pass rusher.
Hey, the 9 o'clock hour is brought to you by the Bagster. It's a dumpster in a bag.
That's where Nick Sirianni's press conference is.
You can get yours today at Home Depot and Lowe's, and for details, go to Bagster.com. So there was a tweet from Zach Berman the talented Zach Berman.
Love him.
Yes, I saw Zach. I got a hug the other day. Got to see Zach and got a hug.
Big Zach.
Made my day.
We're Berman people.
There was a tweet, though, from Zach Berman that raised your interest, Brendan. Yesterday.
Yeah, I'll just read the tweet out for them. The Eagles have had third downs with 15-plus yards to go 19 times this season. They've attempted a pass with air yards of greater than 7 yards 5 times out of those 19. They've converted on 3 of those 5 passes. They've had 9 passes of 7 air yards or fewer. They've converted on 1 of those, and they've only gained 10 yards once or twice out of those. Yeah, exactly. So it's like, are they scared of Jalen Hurts to go out there and throw the ball, push it downfield? Do they not trust him? Do they actually believe that these bubble passes, these screens are going to go out there and convert 15-plus yards? It's either stupidity or they're scared of their quarterback, and I don't get which one it is.
Well, what is your gut instinct?
I think they don't trust Jalen Hurts to do that right now. Like, I really honestly feel that they're going out there, and I don't know why. His deep ball is great, but they're scared that he's going to turn the ball over because he has an enormous clip this year.
The numbers that Zach gave in that tweet that you just referenced, it's hard to not make the argument that they don't trust Jalen Hurts.
Yeah, it's very hard.
I mean, it's hard to make that argument, or it's complete incompetence.
Because the bubble screens are not working. So if they're going to continue to go to them and go to them and go to them, they're saying, I'd rather punt the ball than turn it over, because I guess maybe he's turning it over way too many times this year. But you can't just lose faith in the second runner-up to MVP last year that fast. And he's not even playing that bad. Like the pass to A.J. Brown last week on Christmas night against the Giants, 3rd and 20. Guess what? He threw a dot to A.J. Brown over and in between 2 defenders.
That was the weirdest pass completion that I've seen in a while. He literally looped that in, and I went, what are you doing? Oh, great. Like, when the ball was going, I thought it was going to be intercepted. And I'm like, what are you doing? Oh, great. That was awesome.
Yeah, I mean, you got to trust him to go out there and make plays.
It's 1st and 20. I've got A.J. Brown. I've got Dallas Goedert as a check down. I've got a healthy Devontae Smith at that point still. I am absolutely giving A.J. Brown 2 chances to get me chunk yardage. 2 opportunities. And the first down, I'm throwing it, and I'm trying to, but they got panicked because of the clock. They were panicked because of the clock. And before the onside kick, when the onside kick happened, and I said, look, here it is. I think he onside kicked because he said, let's let them score fast, and then we'll go back and beat them.
It's kind of what he said. He said ultimately,
we'll get the ball back.
Gannon said it worked because he had faith in his defense that they would, at the very least, hold the Eagles to a field goal, which they did, and they would get the ball back with plenty of time, which they did.
I'm driving down the other day, and again, I'm on an island with this with a lot of my peers, even here at the station. The Jonathan Gannon hate from last year and the ridicule is to me one of the dumbest things that I hear. I do not think he is blameless. I do not think he had a great second half of the Super Bowl, but the Jonathan Gannon complete disrespect, I think, was shoved in everybody's face on Sunday. He absolutely clowned this coaching staff.
He did, but I don't know if he's getting that much more out of this personnel that we have running out there every play on defense. Like, that defensive line is not getting any pressure. You think he's scheming something up? Because,
I think he's not getting.
I think Brandon Graham lost a step. I think Josh Sweat is lost.
They're not getting clowned like this.
That's the thing. I mean, you're naming guys that were here last year that had success under Gannon and have not this year. So, maybe he loses a step, but last year
there's a better scheme. This scheme sucks.
I think there's a better scheme. I think in the secondary there's a better scheme. Something Bob points out that the quarterbacks are getting the ball out faster this year. Well, why is that? The idea that the quarterbacks last year were decided going into games, we're going to take 7 seconds to throw the ball, is ludicrous. The quarterbacks weren't getting the ball out fast last year because guys weren't open, and guys weren't open because of the defensive scheme. And this year, they're open more. The defense looks completely lost. The quarterbacks are able to get the ball out faster, and they're not getting hit. It's a trickle-down effect, and the defense, it's scary to me to think that the Eagles might have lost 2 coordinators last year, and they both are better than this head coach.
And that is a scary thought, a very scary thought. But I don't know if they're going from one of the worst defensive I've ever seen trotted out there to to world beaters. I don't think it's that much of a difference.
The anti-Gannon folks are like, yeah, do you remember when Gannon his first year? Do you remember what he was doing then? Yeah, they were letting Patrick Mahomes pass for 70% completions. Okay, and then you know what they did? They got him Bradbury. They got him Reddick. They got him CJGJ.
Yeah, that's kind of why I think
got him,
it's
then
It would be better.
He used those. It would absolutely be better.
But it's not.
I'm not saying it's number one in the league, but it's much better.
Much better. I'd say it is considerably better. They're not in this situation. If Gannon is their defensive coordinator, this team is not sitting here today 11-5.
Yeah, but so much of the defense last year was just relying on the defensive line going out there and just getting pressure every single play. I don't think they're running stunts every play. Like Hassan Reddick is not getting home like he was in the beginning of the season. He wasn't getting home last year.
Well, they're not even giving him as many opportunities.
Yeah, like why? And why is that?
And more importantly, he clowned them. Their offensive game plan that he oversaw. How are we going to come in and face this Eagle? He clowned that team on Sunday. That was an absolute ass-whooping domination of scheme, of physicality, of just the chess game. Nick Sirianni was playing shoots and freaking ladders, and he was playing chess.
Yeah, I mean, that defensive line lost Javon Hargrave and replaced it with the defensive rookie of the year. And, they'd have more sacks. They would. I'm very convinced that this team would have more sacks if Jonathan Gannon had stayed. Now, he didn't. And, ultimately he ends up costing him Vic Fangio. And I think that the Eagles' defense would be better with Vic Fangio.
Right. And
it's hard for me to imagine that Brendan, if you were running this defense, I think the defense would be better.
I understand.
I know my D.
I understand the hate, by the way, of the I do understand
I wish
the
I could
hate
take that back.
That's how you got the job.
Of Gannon for the whole Vic Fangio mess. I absolutely get the venom thrown his way for that. Absolutely.
Yeah, I'm mad at him for that.
But giving him no credit for the most impactful defense in the history of the Philadelphia Eagles?
I'm not giving him no credit,
in the history of the franchise. The people were making him like he's a clown. The clown, he clowned you guys on Sunday. He just said, really? I'm this dumb, right? I'm an idiot, right? I cost the Super Bowl? I didn't give up a touchdown by fumbling. I didn't give up a terrible.
I mean, two things can be true at once. I mean, he did. I'm putting the Super Bowl on him to this day. Like, that was pathetic.
They lost the Super Bowl by 3, and your quarterback gave a free touchdown away that the other quarterback didn't.
Yeah, some of those touchdowns that were.
And then the punt,
walk-ins.
and then the punt, which, by the way, Braden, it's Braden Mann, right? Braden
Mann, yeah.
Okay, Braden Mann, what a godsend.
Yeah, it's great.
He's been. I mean, seriously, last year we were holding our breath on
on everything.
Punt. He's fantastic.
Yeah,
he's been great. And Coach Clay, I'll say it. I apologize.
Yeah,
I wanted him gone.
Yeah, maybe the game would have been different on Sunday if we forced them to punt one time and got the ball in Brandon Covey's hands.
I wanted him gone after the Super Bowl. And when they said they were bringing him back, I said that's a ridiculous because last year the special teams were terrible. They got him some different talent, and they weren't terrible.
Yeah, just going back to the Gannon thing, though, I really think the defense would be better, but I think it would still be the talking point and the biggest issue with this team this year because the players aren't getting it done, regardless of the scheme or not. They're just not there this year.
They don't ball hawk at all.
Yeah, I mean, you let your biggest ball hawk leave.
But
so maybe that is.
Gannon, they took the ball away more than this.
I mean,
this team doesn't take the ball away from you.
A lot of CJGJ's interceptions were, like tips, and he was right there. It wasn't necessarily like diving interceptions, and it wasn't like Darius Slay's interceptions. A lot of times are like he's taking the ball away. And it's incredible positioning. I felt like half of CJGJ's interceptions were he's literally just right place, right time. It's a pop fly, and he just happens to be there. I'm not taking anything away from him necessarily, but they should have been able to handle the loss of CJGJ.
Yeah, but that just goes to the defense as a whole, right? We talked about how many turnovers they forced last year, but that's just such a fickle thing in the NFL.
And it goes to something that Bob brought up on pregame. You don't see this defense, either linebackers or defensive linemen, get their hand on balls often. And you see it.
They never have their hands up, ever.
Ever. And you saw it on the one touchdown to Julio Jones that got tipped. You see it happen to Jalen Hurts multiple times a game where he will have a ball tipped on the line, and you never see it with this defensive line.
Caden sends along a note. He goes, John, I would yell at my radio every morning, and I don't have the opportunity to give you a call. I heard you talk about the fact that you didn't want 2 30-plus-year-old cornerbacks to start the year. I heard you talk about the fact that you didn't trust the fact that they were going with 2 inexperienced coordinators. Yet, you were one of the people banging the drum that this team was going to win the Super Bowl. He said, I think you now see the error in what you were saying. I thought they were talented enough to overcome it. I really did. And guess what? He has every right to call me out on that because I banged those drums on those 2 points over and over again, but I didn't listen to myself. I didn't listen to my own heart was telling me this isn't good. This isn't good. And I said, oh, no, they're going to win.
We all gave Sirianni too much credit.
Yeah, I think that's a big part of it. Yeah, you gave Sirianni a lot of credit, and you figured, okay, well, if things do go awry, he'll be able to fix it because he's a player's coach. And
I thought he would.
He hasn't been able to fix it. That's what it boils down to. He hasn't been able to fix anything.
We have lots of people want to check in. Some jurors, too, checking in at 610-632-0975.
Yesterday was a national holiday, so I guess no jurors.
We only Karen B showed up yesterday morning. Only Karen B.
Contempt.
She doesn't.
She was there.
She doesn't do the New Year.
She was there, so she was
not
there.
a holiday
she
to
was
her.
Ready to, she wanted to get it off her chest. We're gonna let a bunch of you get in. It's been an inspirational day today. I'm inspired, but I'm inspired by your thought process. I'm not inspired by this football team.
I'm inspired by you.
It's the John Kincade Show. Watch your mouth. John Kincade Show, 97.5 The Fanatic. I love the Bet Parks app. It inspires me. It inspires me to take my chances all the time. You got the official winning partner of the Philadelphia. He's going through his dad's texts. There's going to be some fun coming your way at the top of the hour. I wish everybody could come back rejuvenated and excited. I think
that'd be nice.
I think what we've got right now
didn't happen.
I wonder about in every off. is gassed again. And I think that the way I look at it with Jalen Carter is a guy that last year, if the offense was doing what it did last year where the defense could get some stops and then the offense would get up 10 or 14, they unleashed the hounds. And I think they expected the same thing to happen this year. And Jalen Carter would then just be, oh, Jalen, just go get that guy. You see that quarterback? Just attack him every single play. And I don't think they've been in a position to do that, which is, to me, is just crazy.
You know what? They have, but they haven't, though. And, like, we talk about how many leads that this team's blown, and Sunday was a really good example of that. You know, they're up big on Sunday.
Yes, they were.
And we keep hearing that philosophy, right? Like, oh, well, the Eagles, their defense and their pass rush is predicated on the fact that, you know, they need to be up big. And once it's up big, then they're just able to pin their ears back. BS. Because that might be what the plan is, but it doesn't happen. Because when the team is up big, the team still isn't able to, quote, pin their ears back and get to the quarterback. Because I still see the quarterback pick you apart with just world beaters like Greg Dortch. Whatever the hell his name was. Yeah,
like Deutscher.
Like this idea of, oh, don't worry, they just need to be up big, and then the sacks will come. It's not happening.
Hey, Maurice joins us. Maurice, Happy New Year to you. What do you think about this coaching staff?
I just had a quick question now. When I was watching the Seattle game, I'm just talking about Christian McCaffrey, when he called out our play, he's not a defensive player, a defensive coach, and he didn't study us for the whole week. So I'm trying to figure out, as far as game planning, what are they doing that is so, like, what is so obvious that a player that's not studying this or not even game planners for us knows what play we're doing? Like, what's going on there? Who is it? Sirianni? Is it Brian Johnson? I'm just trying to figure out
the plan. I don't know what the plan is, but I know this is that the guys that they had picked to be the coordinators have let this team down in a big way. And they don't trust. Look, there's no reason to trust Brian Johnson. And again, a gentleman here, I'll give him credit, Anthony, says to me, I was a Brian Johnson truther. I'm done.
Yeah.
And he just says, he writes it, I'm done. And I'm like, okay, I like this. It's okay. Because I've been wrong about a lot of things. I've been sharing them this morning with this team. It's okay to be wrong. If you're a Brian Johnson truther today, you're freaking wrong.
Yeah, I was totally on board.
What more do you need to see?
With that hire, I thought he was the logical guy next up. He was Jalen Hurts' guy. He got Jalen Hurts to an MVP level as his quarterback coach. And guess what? This year, he's proved he can't go out there and call plays. He simply cannot do it. And I can say I'm wrong.
Yeah, look, I don't think
it's not hard to just say you're wrong. I got it wrong.
But this thing, I don't think any of us are wrong in thinking that he would be a good OC. Like,
well, Adam Schefter came on and said he was getting a job as an OC one way or the other, here or somewhere else.
Thought the same thing. Look, I think where the disconnect happened is the people that are still dying on Brian Johnson Hill. It's like you're flat earthers. Like, I don't know what I have to prove to you to show you that we're on a globe and we're just spinning around. But, like, dude, we ain't on a turtle's back.
His feel.
Brian Johnson isn't good. He doesn't have a feel.
No, he has no feel for a game at all.
No.
At all.
He's got the feel of Edward Scissorhands. Like, there is none. He doesn't have hands.
How did he go to the bathroom?
There are questions.
One of the flaws of the story.
The deleted scene.
Yes. Oh, okay, it was good.
It was violent.
Yes.
He figured it out, though. But, like, the Brian Johnson stuff, I wanted the guy to work out. It hasn't worked out. I wanted Sean Desai to work out. It hasn't worked out.
Yeah, I mean, nobody was rooting against Brian Johnson to succeed. Nobody was like, there's no reason for this brigade of Brian Johnson. Well, you're blaming Brian Johnson. He has no feel for a game.
No, I mean, the jury was very much out. We knew a little bit more about him just because he was in the building.
He doesn't know how to get the ball to his biggest playmakers.
Well, and that in and of itself is my problem with him. Like, you were here last year, man.
Yes.
Like, you saw what worked. How do you just not continue to do what worked last year?
You got coffee last year for Shane Steichen. You were in that room when Shane Steichen wanted his coffee. You knew how he wanted it. You were there. You had the opportunity to learn. You had the opportunity to take notes. Did you take no notes?
Yeah, I just refuse to get on that page because we just talked about how the defensive coordinator and all that, they have no guys to work with. Where's the weakness in this offense? Where's the weakness? Where? The guard play has been down a little bit this year. Other than that, you have playmakers at the wide receiver position, playmakers at tight end, playmakers at running back, an MVP caliber quarterback. Where's the weakness?
And an offensive line that is one of the best in the NFL. I mean, Brian Johnson was given the biggest loaded deck to step in and say, and I think that's why people were talking about him, he may be a head coaching candidate next year. Yeah. Because he knew there was such a loaded deck for him.
Yeah, I don't know how Edward Scissorhands goes to the bathroom, but I know how Brian Johnson does. He goes out there on the sideline every Sunday and craps his pants.
Well, it's very good. That's a good line.
That was good.
It is. It's not
that
good.
Was good begun.
It's not good right now. And I don't think the fan base or anything is in a good place. I don't think it's in a good place, and I think it's deservingly so.
Yeah, we're in a dark place, but they put us here.
But it's exactly. Rick in Easton joins us. Rick, good morning. You're on the Fanatic. How are you, buddy?
Good morning. Happy New Year. Whenever I call you, I continue to bring this up every week. Early in the season, we've all said all year this is going to bite them eventually because they never put a full game together. They can't close a team out in the last 3.5, 4 minutes. But here's the biggest problem. Sirianni did the same exact thing the second game against Washington. He shows us all the time he doesn't learn from his errors. And you know what? All these experts that used to play in the NFL and they talk about how much they know about the game, if you don't put Jalen Hurts under center for 50% of their snaps, you can't disguise anything. And that's a problem. And if they're not going to be able to run plays under center and they have to go shotgun 98% of the time because that's all he can do, I don't believe that. These guys are pedigrees. These guys are athletes.
But, Rick, listen, here's who. Do you know this number? And I think it was Shane Half may have had it on Twitter. Do you know that going into the game on Sunday, he had attempted one pass of a play that he took the snap under center?
No,
that's incredible. It's incredible, though. That's crazy talk.
It's not incredible. It's this team.
No.
And that's what I can't understand. Laurie made this franchise $4.5 billion. You have to make $4.5 billion decisions now.
Yeah.
You have to make some hard decisions.
I don't disagree with any of what you're saying. And I will tell you, I was absolutely wrong that I remember once before telling Rick I think he was a little over the top. And I was wrong because other people saw it better than I did. I'll flat out say it.
I think a lot of people were fooled with this team.
I got fooled, though. I'm disgusted that I got fooled like that.
I mean, I don't want to hear from the people that weren't fooled because they're just annoying. Because it's like they're celebrating being right.
They're just liars. Like, there's no way.
I mean, I'm sure they're like the one caller earlier, and I've heard him before, and he's kind of been bashing this team for a while, and he called them the Vikings of last year, and we all laughed at him, and it's looking more and more like he might have been correct, but I don't want to hear from him because it's just
it's more of the idea of
reminds me of the fact that this team sucks right now.
But it's more of the idea that I just go, there's got to be more to it, and again. You keep talking about the Jeff McClain article.
Oh, it's coming.
And now it's haunting me.
Oh, it's coming.
Because you know it's coming.
Yeah, it's coming. The breakdown of what went wrong this season.
But the problem with that, and again, here's my problem with it. Does Jeff know and do the beat writers know what the problem is right now and nobody's saying it?
This is so much just like
Are
the
they
Doug
keeping
Peterson
it in their
era.
pocket?
I
Why would you not share it if you knew it?
Well, I think when the report comes out with the defensive players wanting to do their own scheme, pretty good indication.
That's a good indication that there's trouble in paradise.
Yeah, there's trouble with the defense, right? And then when the report comes out from Derek Gunn with the offense being vanilla, it's not hard to read between the lines there. The offensive players, and you know that's not coming from Quez. Quez Watkins is the one saying it.
And then A.J. Brown going out there making a point to say it's not the media. It's not you guys. It's something else.
Yeah, it's not hard to figure out. Like, they might know what they know what we know. You know what I mean? Like, we're sitting here blaming the coaches, and they're probably doing the same thing, and it's not hard to figure that out.
A.J. Brown knows that Brian Johnson's not the man.
Yeah.
And will the Eagles will they double down? because that could piss off Jalen.
If they do, I don't care if he's pissed off.
Oh, I agree with you.
He should.
I agree with you.
I mean, if he's not pissed off right now, for a guy that tells us all the time about how winning's the only thing, and the standard that he's set for himself and all that, like, he should be the most pissed off.
He should be.
With all the cookie cutter, fortune cookie stuff I've heard, he should be the most pissed off. And there's a difference between a friend. You got to separate friendship and business.
I've known him since I was 4.
I
don't care.
My best friend I've known since the 3rd grade. I don't want him coaching, defense. Great guy. Don't want him coaching
Doesn't
defense.
sound like you think he's that great.
No, he is.
You just don't want him coaching?
Yeah, not the defense. Offense, maybe.
Hey, the 76ers are home for 3 games in the next 9 days. So they get plenty of rest. Joel Embiid's back.
Yeah.
From his Christmas twisted ankle, whatever was going on.
I actually like that.
Why?
In a weird way. I like the fact that the team had to work their way through
That's not bad.
not having him, and I like the fact that more guys on the bench got some run because some of the games were a little bit lopsided, so you were able to kind of figure out what you had there. I didn't hate the fact in the middle of the season, I'm not happy that he was injured, but I like the fact that this team had a little bit of a gut check moment of, all right, let's try to prove that we can win some games without this guy.
Where are you guys on D'Anthony Melton?
I like him. I think he's a bench piece.
He's a solid bench player.
I don't think he's a starter.
Okay.
But I think he's a bench piece for sure.
Yeah, I mean, he's
he's a good bench piece.
As a good bench piece.
Yeah.
As a good bench piece.
Yeah.
I hear a lot of people that want to see more D'Anthony Melton. I don't. Like, I would like to see it be more quality secondary minutes.
I'm interested to see what happens after this year because I think he's a free agent, and I'm interested to see what that contract is going to look like. I don't expect him to be back. I think they'll try to look elsewhere and find somebody, and he might be overpaid because everybody in the NBA is overpaid. But yeah, I think he's a starter on a bad team. And I'm not calling the Sixers a bad team right now. Like, we're going to find out what they do at the deadline and stuff. Right now, he's kind of a starter because of the whole James Harden situation that hamstrung him. But I think on a full season, he's the starter on Charlotte Hornets.
Well, this is a nice break though, because you get 3 games at home in 10 days, and right now you're 4 back of the Celtics. The Celtics are a better team. Celtics are a better team. I think everybody knows that. And so you got the Bulls at home, and you haven't beaten the Bulls yet this year. So you got to go beat the Bulls. Then you get the Knicks on Friday night, then you get the Jazz on Saturday. So you're playing 3 games, and then you don't play again till Wednesday. So this is a chance for an opportunity to get a break, to be able to win some home games, stabilize yourself. 22-10 ain't bad. It's 2 games better than last year. So you're 2 games ahead of last year's pace, and you still have the opportunity to go get yourself something. I do not want to star chase at all, and that discussion seems to come up is what do you want to see Daryl Morey do? I'm not looking for another star name. I'm looking for depth that allows D'Anthony Melton to be a bench piece.
Well, I don't want them to go out there and get a star just to get a star. If they identify a star that they think they can build around, then go out and do that. But if you're just getting a star to get a star, save me. I don't need that.
I think Nick Nurse has to have a giant hand in what they do. I don't want Nick Nurse getting texts from Daryl Morey saying, by the way, I got you this guy. I want Nick Nurse and Daryl Morey to sit down and Nick Nurse to dictate, I like this guy for my system, this guy not so much.
Right.
Like, he needs to be a part of it because I think he's done a really, really good job. And I think it's something that Doc Rivers struggled with is he's done a really good job of mixing in everybody on the bench at some point so that when the trade deadline does happen, he'll know who is expendable and who isn't. Whereas Doc Rivers, in blowouts, wins or losses, you were still seeing the same guys. You were seeing the same guys thrown out there, and then you'd see Jaden Springer out there for 1 minute. And you're like, dude, it's a 30-point win. Why wasn't he out there for 10 minutes? I think that Nick Nurse has done a really good job of trying to figure out who he's got. And I think because of that, he's going to have a good idea of who he wants to get. And it can't just be a one-man show in Daryl Morey.
I think the Sixers make a good case for their own arena. And one of them is, like, they play 3 games in 10 days. All right, 10 days. And they're all at home. And they play Tuesday. And then they got to play Friday and Saturday back-to-back. because of availability of the building. And then they come back, and MLK Day, they play a 1 o'clock game, and they got to play the next night, play the Denver Nuggets. They're playing back-to-backs at home because of the fact that they can't dictate schedule. It is one of the best arguments for the Sixers needing their own building.
Yeah, the fact that, you took a back seat, the Sixers took a back seat to Eminem, and I'm not talking about the rapper. I'm talking about the letter M and M, Moana and Mater, because when Disney on Ice comes to town, nothing stops Disney on Ice, Johnny. I mean, nothing's getting in the way of Moana and Mater.
Moana skates?
Yeah.
Where did she learn to skate?
I don't know.
Around the volcano?
That might have been one of the deleted scenes. Maybe she learned from Elsa from Frozen. I don't know.
I mean, it is, but it's one of the greatest cases for the Sixers to have their own.
Yeah, I mean, the fact that the Sixers are never going to host a Christmas Day game.
They're home for they're home for 10 days, and they have to play a back-to-back home.
Yeah, they shouldn't
because of availability.
They're third in the pecking order.
Well,
they're the Wells Fargo Center's scheduling.
And they're third in the conference.
Now, I'd want to change it up. Yeah,
right ahead of Orlando. Orlando's back, Orlando's now back 3 games. I think Orlando's going to where it has to be.
They woke up and realized they're Orlando.
So you got Orlando. So tonight you'll hear the Sixers right here on 97.5 The Fanatic as the Sixers try to beat the Bulls for the first time, which sort of pissed me off. So beat the Bulls for God's sakes.
Tough. They got that Jordan guy.
Take care of it. No, he's retired, Pat.
What?
You didn't see The Last Dance? Seriously? I mean, come on now.
Save the Last Dance?
Okay, you got to go watch. Don't watch The Women on Top of the Tower.
Save the Last Dance.
Don't watch that.
I've watched that.
Then, and then the Flyers will be on MMR tonight because the Flyers will take on Edmonton a little bit later on tonight. I would like to say, too, congratulations to me as the owner of the franchise and to my young upstart general manager, Connor Thomas.
Did you guys win?
We won.
Good job.
And so Connor, but I will make the announcement that after the Super Bowl, Connor will be moving on from the franchise.
Wow,
that's all you guys are winning because whatever Todd DeFeo does at fantasy football, he's a magician.
He's the Todd Fire.
Wait, you're firing Connor?
I'm not firing him. I'm looking. Connor
sounds like you're firing him.
Connor decided he didn't want to get up at 4 a.m. anymore, and he told the new boss Scott. He told him, I don't want this anymore. Get me somewhere else in the lineup.
He didn't want to work with Bob.
So I'm going to say that Connor will be moving on. Now they're going to give you an expansion franchise.
Yeah, the Nighthawks.
Or something like that he could take over. But after the Super Bowl, Connor will be moving on. And but we are glad to hoist a conference title today.
This is like the end of any given Sunday. You got an expansion team, and all of a sudden, coach is leaving to coach that team. Oh, by the way, I'm bringing Willie Beeman with me.
Well, look, Connor's going to be sought after. And if you hear him at night, Philly Sports Tonight and everything, I mean, he's going to be sought after. Connor's going to have opportunities to GM another club. But it was my leadership that I think brought this team to a championship.
All right, Sirianni, relax.
No, what I would actually tell you is
my leadership.
I was in Avalon on vacation down at Icona, and we were doing the draft by text. And Connor was saying, okay, where are we leaning here? Where are we leaning here? Connor's expertise was absolutely awesome.
Well, my season was over in week 3. So.
There you go. So, hey, a lot of fun, though. So, look, you got Sixers and Flyers tonight, and we're going to find out a lot more clarity about what the direction is. And I want to hear more about Devontae Smith and how bad this is, because even if you go into your wild card game without Devontae Smith, that's a major loss. It's a major loss to an offense that's already sputters.
He's a good player, John.
Way too often. Good
There's my analysis
on your part. Bobby's coming back tomorrow. Pat will be there. Good job, Brendan, today. Want to remind everybody, support life-saving cancer research. Join us and our generous partner, David Auto Group. They sponsor our First Friday. And by the way, First Friday, if you want to get in, go to 975thefanatic.com and get on the guest list for this Friday. Make a donation to the American Association for Cancer Research. Do it today at 975thefanatic.com/AACR because cancer research saves lives. Hopefully tomorrow we can find a few silver linings, but Bob's got some pent-up emotions I'm sure he'll be looking to share. Have a great, great Tuesday, everybody. We'll be back tomorrow morning at 6. Andrew Salchunas, and then the best show ever coming your way next here on 97.5 The Fanatic.